Hello, everyone. Seems we are live. Hope everyone's doing well. Let me just get this here real quick. Let me just pause that. All right. Hopefully everyone's doing well today. Welcome back to Britton's Social Club, if you want to call it that. Hope everyone's doing well. It's been a pretty eventful last few weeks, to be honest with you. Bibliophile reads, how you doing? And Tharnal, how you doing? How's everyone doing this fine afternoon? I'm doing pretty good. I graduated from college, Christmas is coming up. I'm feeling pretty good about that. So yeah, it's I'm doing okay. Glad to hear you're doing good. That's always a good thing. It's been kind of crazy few weeks, the whole Rob Reiner thing. Graduated from college, all sorts of fun things all around. Well, not all of them were fun, but you know. But yes, doing pretty good. Is that right? Well, glad to see a fellow Okie here in the comments. I think I saw you commenting on Raph's video yesterday, wasn't it? It was a video about social media, which, he's doing pretty good here. Oh, we got a couple people coming in. We got a few people, actually. And it's not Raph. Raph's not here yet, but we got a couple other people. We got Alex.
Hello.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. And also we have Victor the Lore Seeker. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
Glad we got some people in here today. But how you got? But yes. Yeah, Alex, glad you could make it.
Thanks for having me.
See, you have a new profile picture?
I do. Pennywise.
Yes, I see. And Victor Lore Seeker, you're pretty new. So introduce yourself. What do you do?
Well, really, I usually just react to like lore videos on shows and anime.
Interesting. Very nice. I'm curious how you found this channel, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you all for showing up.
I actually found it on Twitter. I saw you were celebrating your graduation.
Oh well, yeah, that's always a good thing. Yes. Yes, that's a thing. Yes, that happened. But glad to have you guys here, though. It's always good to have guests. What have you been up to, Alex? Aside from watching the Welcome to Dairy show, I've seen you've been posting about that on Instagram the past couple weeks.
I do post it quite a bit. It's been coming out. I've been reading First Law. I texted you about that yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And, I started Salem's Lot because I'm trying to get into the Stephen King books now because of it. Welcome to Dairy. So working up my way to the Towers, the big plan. So
have you read The Dark Tower yet?
No. I've only ever read The Talesman because my mother forced me to.
Oh, okay. No. All right. I was about to say, well, I mean, I will note there is a character in Salem's Lot who shows up in Dark Tower. I won't say who though, because you haven't.
No, I know it's like a big connecting series with a lot of other things, so that's why I'm reading everything else before I read it.
And of course, Bibliophile reads says I have yet to read any Stephen King. So there you go. We have another guest. We got a whole party here today. You know him, you love him. He's a frequent guest here on the show, and that is Raph. How you doing, Raph?
Hey, buddy, how you doing? Yeah, I'm alive. It is winter solstice. I hope you've set something on fire, danced around it, drunk a fuck ton of mead, that kind of stuff.
Oh man, I wish I had some mead. I just have this Diet Coke here. But yes, it is winter solstice, isn't it?
I do have like a
Wonderful.
30-liter keg of mead right next to me. I might later on just take some of that. We'll see.
Yeah, just crank it open and just start just guzzling it down.
That would be very dangerous, but I might just like take a horn and fill it up with mead.
Oh boy.
But for now,
Rifkin's here, how you doing?
for now,
And
I'll
of
stay with
course,
beer.
Ori is here. That's Tharnal Ori. There he goes right there. He'll sample the Stand short story anthology. I haven't read that one yet, but it has a couple authors I like, such as like S.A. Cosby and Joe Lansdale. So that should be fun. What I am reading at the moment, for anyone who might be curious, I'll extend this to everyone else here. I am trying to finish off the year, believe it or not, reading Shadow of Hyperion by my good friend Joe Byrne, and also The Great Wind by Alan Moore, which I'm actually hoping to finish this evening, because I only have about 30 pages of that left. So, good time. I think someone has me playing in the background. I wanna pause that.
I've heard about that one. I heard about that author, but I haven't got any of his books.
That's not be me because I muted myself.
Oh, might be. I don't know who that might be, but anyway, you know. Oh man, the guy played Ziggy. The guy played Ziggy on The Wire died today. Apparently,
Are you going to go see that Supergirl movie when it comes out?
Which movie? Which movie, Victor?
The Supergirl movie.
Oh, I mean, I probably, yeah. We'll see. I mean, I've been more picky with superhero movies lately, though I did like Superman. So
that's good. Well, hello, Thornall, and hello, Bibliophile Reads. I've worked on my artificial intelligence video today, and it's already 96 minutes long, and it's far from done. It's bad. It is what it is.
Your last video was really good on BookTube, Book Talk, and
oh yeah, thanks. I saw you.
Yeah, he did the whole. He did the whole social media ruining books.
Yeah.
Which your answer is kind of. I think. I don't know.
I mean, I did use quotes there, right?
You stop it. Sorry, my phone is just not being cooperative today.
That's how phones are. Yeah, I haven't read the Stand anthology. I suspect Cat Valente's story will be good because Cat Valente is really good. But it's still Stephen King and apocalypse and stuff. And I don't know.
It's the end of the world as we know it, as you know the old song says. Yeah, it said Victor's echoing. I don't know what. Do you have something on in the background, Victor?
Am I good now?
You are definitely better now. I think it was like, I don't know if you had like speakers instead of headphones. That might have been it or something like that.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
Hello, Joe. How you doing? I'm actually reading. Well, actually, you already know this, but I am reading your book Shadow of Hyperion right now. So I'm at the part where Hyperion possibly and Rohan are about to go meet the dragon. So yeah, good fun times.
Sounds fun.
They just punched some dinosaurs. It's all good.
I always felt that Hyperion was a bit cheesy, but that's kind of what you have to expect from like romantic poets in the 19th century, at least the British kind. They are often very, very cheesy. So
They're, believe it or not, even though, I often see Brits and they often seem like real snarky, cynics, but they're actually, but they can be quite sentimental, believe it or not.
I really
No,
enjoyed the
of course
first
not of course not by Dan Simmons. I meant the one by John Keats,
two.
which I have also read for reasons.
I ended up finding your old videos on Hyperion after I finished those 2 books. So
I read the first book and thought, no, it was pretty good. And then I haven't read the second one yet. I'm not really
I
in
like
any
the
rush
first
to.
2, but it's a peculiar thing of because usually I always feel like when I was doing my Malazan reviews, I'm like, well, if you liked like if you've gone 4 books in, you'll probably enjoy the 5th one. But with the second book of Hyperion, I was like, well, if you like the first one, you might not like this one. And if you didn't like the first one, you might like this one. So, because the second book's
And
a lot different.
And if you already thought the second one wasn't that good, you'll really hate the Endymion side of things.
Also, anthologies are often like a pain in the ass because like you don't know if like which stories are going to be good or not, or at least that's always been my experience.
That's how I wrote my books. I've been for the stories I've got now. There's more of an anthology right now.
Well,
It's just 5 of them, not too long.
I mean, I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm just saying like, generally I can kind of struggle. So you're like, oh, maybe there's like good writers on there, and then there's like some not great ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it kind of depends on what you're looking for, right? When it comes to anthologies, is it like you want to find out what your favorite authors or some of your favorite authors do with like another one of your favorite authors? Then I think it's more about it's like a tribute kind of thing, right? Paying homage to like a favorite sort of text, and I can forgive a lot in those kind of situations. Which reminds me, I still have to read Songs of the Dying Earth because Glenn Cook has a story in there, and if there's someone whose Dying Earth version I want to read, then it's definitely Glenn Cook.
Also, I have not read the Sun Eater books, not yet.
Neither have I. In a
Maybe
million years,
someday.
I'll get to it. When I catch up on the 1,000 of other fantasy stuff I haven't read yet, that everyone on BookTube has already discussed.
Yeah, I know, right? That's always my thing because it's like, it's. He's like,
there's so many to keep track of.
Exactly.
Like right now, I have a book by you heard of a guy named Travis Baldry?
Yes, he's the guy who likes alliterations.
The Legends and Lattes book he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they did Brigands and Bread Knives and Bookstores and Bone Dust or something like that. He loves alliterations.
Yep, I got that third. I got the Bread Knives one now. I'm excited to read it because I like the first 2.
Yeah, I'm waiting for like Goblins and Gas Stations and whatever else will come after that.
I did read something kind of in that vein. I read a Psalm for the Wild Built recently. That was kind of the what do you call it? It's like cozy sci-fi, if you will.
It's solar punk.
Solar punk, thank you, Ref. Which was pretty. It was not bad, though. Again, I don't really want to go on my rant about AI again because I already did that last episode. So we won't. I don't want to rehash that again.
AI isn't real. That's the one thing you need to know.
There's so much AI stuff now. I'm getting so many ads. I'm like,
well, but it's
AI
not exactly artificial intelligence. It's just
it's not.
It's a stochastic parrot to take a specific terminology there. No, it's not good. The thing is, it doesn't have to be AI to be bad. It can just be generally bad. Hey, Demidrag, how you doing?
I found I'm subscribed to like 2 AI channels that do like what if videos on like Game of Thrones and Star Wars, and that AI generated it's pretty good. I like how they do the descriptions and stuff in there.
Oh, you mean like that do like audiobooks of the Star Wars stuff?
I know they take like a what if scenario and they like AI generate it, make it like a narration story out of it.
I see.
Yeah,
Speaking of Star Wars, We were talking about short stories. If you wanted to get into some Star Wars books that don't require really any homework, there's the books that came out in the 90s by Bantam, Tales from Mos Eisley, Tales of the Bounty Hunters, and Tales from Jabba's Palace. And those are a bunch of different authors that wrote short stories about all the little characters you see in the backgrounds of those scenes. So makes it more fun
nice.
when you go back and rewatch the movies. Like, why was that fat guy crying over the Rancor when he died? You got to read the book to find out. So makes it fun.
Well,
Oh, nice. I got
I was
the only
always
book
wondering,
I
like,
have in my collection. I have the Darth Bane trilogy and the Darth.
Oh, that's
Plagueis
really good. Those are really good books by Drew Karpyshyn.
and the that zombie, that Red Harvest book.
Death Troopers. Yeah, that one's really fun too. I think it's ruined because Han and Chewie are in it a little bit, because there's a lot of great atmosphere in that book. But then the moment Han and Chewie show up, I'm like, well, I know they're at least going to make it out because this is before the movies, so they have to make it out. But you still have all the original characters, which you can kind of be scared for. So, but yeah.
Oh, no, it's not. This one's in Death Troopers. It's the one before it called Red Harvest.
Oh, Red Harvest.
Yeah, that one, where it's like a Sith Academy zombie.
Right.
outbreak.
That one was not my personal favorite, but
Hey, Grifkin, you're so fucking right. I went through like upcoming fantasy releases, and I want to put like every single marketing executive who decided to put the words bookstore, coffee shop, or tea shop into a fantasy book title against the wall. And, well, whip them first, flog them first if they also decided to put the word magic in there. It's so fucking overdone. Like, at least Travis Baldry doesn't do that. You're so right. It's annoying as fuck. And I don't even mind this, like, I don't read the books, but come on, it's like the something magic tea store, the something magic coffee shop, the magical bookstore in the underworld, the wonderful tea store in the underworld. Fucking hell, man! We don't need AI to have bad books. It seems people can do that all on their own. And it will suck. It pisses me off. I don't know. It's so frustrating.
This is why I don't write. I'm like a George Lucas. I got ideas, but I can't formulate that into a story.
But yeah, those are
like all the ideas are in your head, but you can't figure out where the plot goes.
Well, like, I just can't write it down. Like, I could give it to somebody else. They could probably make something good out of the idea, but like, I can't actually write down the idea.
Oh, I wouldn't mind getting a few of them ideas. I might incorporate some of that in my own stuff.
Fair enough.
Kind of like my friend and I, we both did like a story, but for me, I outlined everything, so at least I have a plot line and a blueprint. Well, him, everything's in his head. He's still in the world building phase. He hasn't written anything down. He tells me all the ideas. I said, all right, that's a good idea, but now go on a Google document and start writing. But he just doesn't want to do it. He's a world builder, not a writer.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy me some good old fashioned world building. You know, I made a whole video about my favorite fantasy worlds the other day or a few weeks ago.
That was a good video. It was a good video.
I'll say that one.
Though I was second guessing myself half of the time, I had a good time with it. I'm like, should the first law be on there? I'll throw it on there. It's fine. It'll be fine.
First of all, I had talked to Britton yesterday how I've been reading Blade itself for the first time, because when I made my review, which won't come out until like June, whenever it comes out, but I was saying how, like, you know, when I was in high school, people were already discussing this book on YouTube. So it's like, what do I got to say that's new? Like, absolutely nothing. But, you know, I said, you know, I think it's a little overhyped, at least the first book, because it is mostly character, which I'm a character first person, but like the world building is like a little bite size. You got to like search for it in the first book.
Yeah, you know, like the world building's not like a big, you know, thing, you know.
I mean, the world building in general is not that much in First Law because so much of it is basically pastiche of real world stuff, which sometimes works really well when you look at the Empire, which is, him basically taking the piss at, the British Empire base, which is,
He literally
deserved.
calls it England, which you're like, okay, like
That's only part. That's
That's
only that's only part of it. But you have all of that, and you have like the old Empire that doesn't show up that much in the first one, which is Rome or whatever. And the problem is that the Gurkish part has a lot of weird Orientalism in it, and that's kind of where things unfortunately fall apart a lot. But I think it's important to understand like sort of like when that book came out and how much like where fantasy and even like grim dark, whatever that might be, fantasy, grittier fantasy was at the time this came out. And Abercrombie brought something to this that I think made it really stand out at the time. It doesn't, it isn't as edgy now as it was back, in 2005 or whenever the first one came out. I keep forgetting my flatmate at the time brought it home. He was reading. It's like, hey, you got to read this. This is so fucking amazing. Then I started reading. It's like, well, this is partly really good. Partly it really annoys me.
Because I liked it. I just thought. I hear every book after the first book increases in quality, so I'm sure I'll enjoy the other two. But I was like, I've read Malazan, I've read R. Scott Bakker's works. I'm like, dark. I don't know. This is tame by comparison. Like Logan, like sure, he's done some bad stuff in the past, maybe a lot of bad stuff, but seems like a pretty decent sort compared to Nair or Karsa.
I think what's important there is more that and the thing that
have you read Elric?
Yeah,
Elric. I've read most of Elric. I have.
You're reading Elric right now, still, aren't you, Alex? Or are you not reading Elric anymore? Or are you not reading Elric at the moment?
At the moment, I have the last collection left with the story where he like goes to like 1940s Germany or something with Hitler or something. I don't know. It was a weird like.
I was about to say Elric does get a little convoluted towards the end. I'll grant that. Those first couple books are really good. But like once once Moorcock was kind of hitting the sauce a bit on the Eternal Champion thing, it kind of gets a little lost. It was like, what?
I got this latest book
I want to reread it as a comic because I know they make comic adaptations because I feel like it's just so weird.
I read the first two. The art is outstanding. Like just full stop.
Do you think you might get an Elric TV show given that The Witcher is finished?
No. I don't
think Elric works well as a TV show. It's not the kind of like the things that make Elric good don't make it like a good TV show. Would not make it well in like a TV show.
I have to update a little bit. There is a little bit of that like angsty like it's kind of that like angsty like.
I love my sad boy Elric.
Well, maybe they can keep that, but they'll have to like update a few things because there's still some things that are kind of the time that probably wouldn't fly today.
I think like the main thing is like the psychedelic aspects of it that don't necessarily work because they are essential when you read something like Sailor on the Dream Seas of Fate. Sailor on the Seas of Fate, that's the title, right? The whole thing when they get to that island and they start fighting that monster, the monsters Gog and Magog, and then you realize that it's one monster and each of them is like walking into the eyeball of one of that monster, and it's like, holy shit, what did you smoke when you wrote that?
Right.
And that is really cool, but that's not the kind of thing you can necessarily put into like television today.
Though, if you ask Moorcock, he was using some psychedelics at the time when he was writing.
Of course,
so
I mean, he was hanging out.
His words, not mine.
No, he was hanging out with the guys from Hawkwind, and like he was definitely doing like a lot of LSD and other stuff, which is, partly what makes that stuff, those stories stand out because they do sort of like go into directions that you don't necessarily get to without using psychedelics. And I think that's key to.
Unless you're like Philip K. Dick.
Philip K. Dick did not use a lot of psychedelics. He tried psychedelics like once and didn't like it. Philip K. Dick mostly just took speed and uppers, but they can still get you like incredibly psychotic, right?
Well,
just to be clear,
I mean, you can. I don't mind if you post links. It just depends on what for.
Any TV shows you guys looking to watch?
You can't. links might not show up in chat because YouTube crops out everything that is not an internal YouTube link.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I'm excited to watch that Dunkin' Egg show coming out next month.
I hope
Helen?
it's good. You know, I actually like the Dunkin' Egg stories. It's kind of like his Foffer and the Grey Mouser, just not as
I think that's some of his best work.
what it's not as horny as a Foffer and the Grey Mouser. It is a little bit, not quite, but a little bit, but not, yeah. We're good.
Helen, as to your question about backers work, I mean, as I said before with other people, like it's like kind of like watching Schindler's List. Like you're not going into it to have a good time, but if you vibe with it, it's going to be a very engaging read.
You also need to really, really enjoy early 2000s edgy atheist kind of
Yeah.
content. If that's not your kind of style, then it might get like really, really annoying.
I might
at some
hate this
point.
then.
I'm like the
You say it
complete
like that.
opposite of those 2000 internet atheists, but I enjoy hearing somebody of the opposite view of me because I think it helps keep me out of a bubble.
For
That
me,
being
that
said,
is-
I've heard it all before.
That's the things like for me that is kind of the weakness of Backer, because while I don't necessarily fundamentally disagree with him, I'm not exactly what you might call a religious person. I'm not disagreeing with him on the atheist thing. I just disagree with him on the. I feel it is shaping his text too much. He's like, yeah, here's the thing: there is no free will, and I'm going to write a lot of gruesome fantasy and use a lot of fancy words to make it really, really clear that I am a very smart person and God does not exist. So fuck you. But I'm gonna quote like fucking Homer. And
Yeah, I mean, the blade
sort of
itself is a quote from the Odyssey. So I mean,
yeah, and the second one, no, the third one is Last Argument of Kings, which is obviously a quote from the canons that Louis XIV had made, which is Ultima Ratio Regis, which means the Last Argument of Kings. And before they're hanged is also a quote. No, they're always quotes. Like even the individual, there's always the quote in like the individual books within one volume that are also taken from something. But yeah. But one thing that I wanted to say, Alex, about the Blade itself, I think what is really clear is both with George R. Martin, but very much also with Abercrombie, that both of them worked in television, and Abercrombie did like a lot of like cutting and stuff for TV productions in the 90s, and that does very much inform how he scripts and how he choreographs fights and how he writes dialogue. That's a very TV style dialogue. When you look at your, Joss Whedon, Buffy, late 90s, early 2000s, snappy kind of dialogue. That's kind of what infuses Abercrombie. And he was probably the first one who brought that into fantasy, which still, like, even with, like, fucking George R. Martin, A Song of Ice and Fire, still had a fairly sort of, like, stately, plodding dialogue style. And that's what Abercrombie brought to the genre at the time, and that was
he does it very well. Like I very much
he's really good at that.
Characters pretty much instantaneously. I think like when it comes to character stuff,
Bernard Cornwell.
Yeah, I was about to say, I read Sharp's Tiger about a year ago, and I'm like, wow, I can see that if Joe Abercrombie did not take at least a little bit from Bernard Cornwell's Sharp books, I would not believe. I'd be very shocked. I'll say that.
I never read his Sharp stuff. I was more into his Last Kingdom books.
Oh no. Don't
these are also on the
started on that. No.
But
I haven't read those. I've only read Sharp's Tiger, which was pretty good. I like Sharp's Tiger.
Hey, Eden.
But they're pretty good read.
When did Sharp's Tiger? When did Cornwell start the Sharp stuff? Because I'm kind of confused about like when Cornwell started writing. And obviously, Bernard Cornwell's Sharp is heavily inspired by the Flashman novels from George MacDonald Fraser. So it's British imperialism all the way down until they hit turtles, I guess.
I mean, I haven't read. Sharp's Tiger is like technically like the first one in like chronology, but he wrote it like not too long ago. So I think like the first like written one was like Sharp's Rifles, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, might be. I just don't know when Cornwell started writing, whether it was like in the 90s or in the 2000s, and All the Cornwall I've read was bad, is what I'm saying. And I've read 4 books, and they're all bad in the same way, which makes me believe that I think all of it stuff is bad the same way.
Well, there's
If you
also,
manage,
you got John Godwin and his Bloodsworn saga.
oh, you mean John Gwynne? Yes, I've read that one as well.
Oh, those were good.
On the TBR. On the long
So
list.
many.
I mainly got those because the Viking and Norse inspired setting.
Yeah, and John Gwynne really knows his Norse weapons, and that's
Yeah.
partly the problem of it. There's a lot of stuff wrong with those books, unfortunately, and there's some interesting.
You were kind of
bits and
annoyed
pieces
with
in
the
there.
John Gwynne books, weren't you? Like I remember you were kind of like,
Oh,
I
yes,
think you
I
said it.
was.
I think I remember one of your videos saying like it was bad and frustrating or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff that is really, really frustrating in there. The main, like, there's like all kinds of stuff. Like, the plot is fine, and I get like why people love this sort of like found family stuff. He's really good at writing, battle scenes. They're really good. You can tell that,
Yep.
Gwyn
Oh, man.
as a reenactment guy knows how to write a battle scene because he's done that specific style of fighting. It can be annoying because he obviously always has to drop in his terminology. It's like, if I ever read the fucking word null bending again, I'm gonna smack someone. That's the thing, is like, because I have friends who also do like Norse reenactment, and I had knew those people before I read John Gwynne. So I already had people chew my fucking ears off about fucking null bending for years before he starts putting that in his books. I'm like, I'm done with fucking null bending. No, but like, there's like the main thing that really, really frustrated me, because John Gwynne, as someone who is, doing a lot of like, I know I do Norse reenactment. I do all of these things. I use Old Norse as my language for magic, which is a really cool twist and everything. It's like, yeah, it's kind of bad if you understand a bit of Norse and so forth, and you kind of get what he's doing there, but it's fine, right? He takes his knowledge of Norse culture as a way to lend credibility and weight to his writing. And then he calls all the monsters Skraelings. And that's a really, really bad idea, because if you don't know what a Skraeling is the Norse slur for Native Americans that they picked, that they used.
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh no!
And, it meant, and what it meant is basically like weak cowards.
Oh no!
And the point is, if I know that, and if I know that, John fucking Gwynne knows that as well, and using that to describe all the monsters as like a whole class of like the non-humans, that's fucking racist, my dude. Like, that's unambiguously racist, my friend.
Oh boy.
That's just like, and that's the point. It's like, he should have known that one. That's my point. It's like, if you use Old Norse and all that other stuff, you know what you're doing, and that pissed me off.
I was glad there was a glossary in the back. I'm like, all right, there's too many. I know some of these Norse words, but a few of them just flew over my head. So
Maybe that's why there's no glossary.
Then you have the dictionary to see what these things mean.
Papa Gwyn, how could you? No. But yeah,
so yeah, that's the thing that like really broke like John Gwynne for me, was like, you should have known. Either you know your Norse stuff or you don't, and if you pretend to know it, then you should have known that one.
Would you have liked to be used like less Norse wording?
No. Either you use all the Norse stuff, but then you don't use like basically the Viking N-word to describe all monsters. That's the level that we're talking about here, right? It means weak cowards. And it was applied by Norse, like the Norse people that came to North America, right? For like the people living there, right? And you use that to describe your orcs, trolls, and whatever. Like, are you sure you want to do that? Do you understand where the problem lies, right? Don't do that. It's like if I would write like a fantasy book, and for whatever reason would use German terminology from time to time, and I would call all the orcs and monsters Untermensch. That would be fucking bad. You know what I mean?
Isn't that
be really funny though.
Isn't that the word for like retarded people?
I call my
Nazi
orcs and
word for, like,
goblins greenskins.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine, because that's not a terminology with like a historic,
Meaning
thing.
to it.
I mean, you can draw the connection to Redskins if you want, but like that one I think is fine if you want to do that. But like using an actual historical slur in your fantasy world feels like a very
Poor writing
troubling
decision.
choice. You know what I mean?
I mean, you can make original slurs for your racist characters in your book, but
But
different
that's the
from
point.
using the real
He doesn't
racial slur.
use. But here's
Yeah.
the thing: he doesn't use Skraeling as a slur. He just uses it as like the in-world term for monsters,
Mm,
and that's kind of the problem. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not like,
I
hey,
get it.
we hate those whatever. That would still be okay if people were using it as a slur, because that's fine. Well, I mean, the problems are
Being
different
used
if
in
you
its
go.
proper context, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, it's supposed to be a slur, but no, this is like, because he writes in like third person, right? Yes, it's first person limited, but still, it's like, yeah. And then even when it's like from the monsters, there's a couple of POVs that are with the monsters. Like, yeah, the other Skraelings, and they're like, would you really do that? So that's kind of where I really have a problem with him. Is like, that's unnecessary, because yeah, I don't know. Do better, motherfucker, is my point.
For me, I like one of the things I wish I learned more about was like the far eastern part that they went to, that guy's from.
Yeah.
There wasn't really much explained as often. Like, we knew most of the other stuff, but we know that place also has their own gods and tainted people.
I mean, it's basically his version of the Byzantine Empire, right? It's sort of like his idea of like, hey, we have those people over there, so we can have the whole Varangian way, sort of like having a Varangian guard over at the Byzantine Emperor's place, and have that connection that you always had in like Norse history, where like people from the north went through Russia, down through the Black Sea to Byzantium to either serve as Varangians for the Byzantine Emperor, or just go there for trading, raiding, and so forth. Up the, I guess, Dnieper River, and then through some portage and so forth. It's been a while since I read Rhoda on, but it also goes into that. So that, I think, is kind of why he does that, because it makes sense in sort of like we'll center this on sort of like 10th century, 11th century, whatever, Norse mythology and worldviews in a lot of ways. That's why he has that there, but he doesn't further develop it. It's like, if you don't know about that stuff, then yeah, you're kind of fucked.
I've just been spoiled with starting with Malazan and Backer, because then I got to try to read Abercrombie and freaking Wheel of Time, and it's just like, I'm suffering. Or not with Abercrombie as much, but Wheel of Time, I'm definitely suffering.
The last book I finished was the Dragon Bone Chair.
Oh yeah, the Memory of Sorrow and Thorn, that one.
Yeah,
those are really good.
It was a slow read, but I managed
except for the fucking hemlock. The fucking hemlock. This was like one of those really interesting things with and I saw that Ida, and I'm very happy that like more Wars of Light and Shadow stuff is coming out in audio, and I will read it as soon as I have like more of it. I have bought the ones that are already out. I am actively working on this anyway. So when you read the Memory, Sorrow, Thorn part, which is really good, and I really like them at this point. I didn't like them in the past. On rereads, I get more and more happy with them. Nothing is perfect. But one thing that I found really interesting is that he constantly talks about hemlock. And I'm a European person, and Ted Williams is American. And hemlock is something very different in Europe than it is in a North American context. Because when North Americans talk about hemlock, you talk about the trees, right? That you make, the wood and everything. When we in Europe talk about hemlock, we talk about the flower. The flower that is very poisonous.
Yeah, I thought hemlock was a type of plant.
Hemlock is two things. There is a hemlock fir that is called hemlock, just hemlock most of the time in America. That's Canadian, North American. And then there's hemlock, the swampy flower. That's the thing that you make the poison out if you want to, poison a Socrates or someone, right? But in a European context, that's only hemlock. Like hemlock is only that plant because we don't know about that other thing. And it's called like hemlock fir in like the German word is Schierlingstanne, which is the term for that tree. But I didn't know that. And you have that whole situation in book 2, I think, where Simon is wandering around in the snow and he's lost and he starts just eating plants because he's so fucking hungry. He's like, and all he could find was like hemlock, and he tried eating the hemlock. And said, no, don't eat the fucking hemlock. And I didn't realize that he was talking about a different hemlock because that one, probably won't taste good, but it's not going to kill you. And then I realized that at some point that there's 2 different hemlocks, and Cat Williams, being American, just used the word hemlock and meant the tree, and I, a European, read hemlock and meant the flower. Was like that disconnect. I just found really, really funny. So here's the point: learn more about fucking plants, because plants are the one thing that fantasy has a lot of, and that you probably never heard about all the details. That's the thing that I learned from fucking Tolkien. Is like so many plant names, and now I have all these plant names, and then I need to kind of connect them in my head actively to like the German terms, because it's not something I encounter all the time. It's like, do I know what kind of German word is the equivalent to beech, and what's a birch? And birch is, I know, yes, because it's the white tree. But beyond that, like, there's so many fucking trees out there.
The longer you exist, the more you just realize you know nothing about so many topics like plants and whatnot. You go, oh, so much I can learn. Not enough time in the world. So.
Yeah, Raph will do that.
Yep,
He's brought up things where I'm just like, what the hell are you talking about? And then I'll look it up later and be like, oh shit, he was right. Yeah.
Like, I just like to read and act. Like, I'm not smart enough for it.
The Brazy novels. Have you read the first one, Thornall? Have you? And I did finish Little Big by John Crowley, and that's
I heard you said you liked
ride.
that. Was it good?
I did like it a lot. It also made me very, very sad, and it's the kind of book that is sort of very difficult to talk about because there's so much stuff going on, and it's so difficult to describe, and it hits a lot of like things that I personally am very interested in. And it has like a long excursion on the chemical wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz, and I'm
now, I know of it as it's one of the few fantasy novels that Harold Bloom actually liked, aside from like Earthsea and like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no. And I understand why he does, which makes me angry because I don't like Harold Bloom.
Voyage of Arcturus, which he actually wrote a novel kind of riffing on that. That was the only novel he ever did. And
I might want to read that because Voyage to Arcturus is insanely cool. It's also incredibly weird. I mean, Voyage to Arcturus is one of the weirdest things you'll ever read. It's got neopronouns and tentacles and stuff. And it's from like the 1920s.
Yeah, I remember Alan Moore mentioned liking it a lot. So, maybe I'll try it.
I can imagine Alan Moore liking that one. It's genuinely a really, really unique piece of text, Voyage to Arcturus.
Which, I guess kind of speaking of Alan Moore, I like The Great Wind, but it's kind of annoying me because it just feels like stuff I've read before, like from people like Susanna Clarke and Neil Gaiman. And it's like, well, that's not fun. But I'm also kind of reminded of The Vor because, like kind of with The Vor, Alan Moore is kind of combining like real figures with like fantastical concepts because, he likes doing that, I guess.
like Lovecraft.
Well, he did do that with Lovecraft, like Providence, but there's like it's very British. So there's like a lot of like obscure like British people running around. Like there's like an artist named Austin Spare, who was a real guy. He was like an artist and an occultist. He makes an appearance in the book. He's like one of the people who knows a lot about the Long London, which is like yeah.
So how did you like The Great Wind so far?
I'm liking it fine. It's fun. It's a bit British, very British.
I mean, that's kind of the point, right? You call your novel The Great Wen or The Long London Quartet.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty British. So, I mean, I get that, but it's quite British. I will say that.
Crumpets and tea.
When it comes to Lovecraft in Britain, I cannot recommend The Sunken Land Begins to Rise Again by M. John Harrison. Too much. It's so fucking good. It's very weird. It's very contemporary literary fiction. Like lots of like very unhappy mid-40s people, maybe having an affair, maybe falling in love, getting sucked into more and more weird conspiracy theories and so forth. And at the same time,
sounds kind of Pinchonian.
it's far more British. It's far more rainy and smoggy, and everything is moldy and everything because it's Britain and not California. That's like the main thing. And what you notice is like they're so fucking stuck up with their own personal problems and their unhappiness as mid-40s in like 2000s England that they kind of miss the fact that like the fish people are slowly taking over England. It's like what is Shadow over Innsmouth but Brexit?
Well, as long as it's better than the actual Shadow over Innsmouth, I'll take it. It sounds like a fun story.
I like Shadows over Innsmouth, but fair enough.
I think Shadow over Innsmouth is probably one of the better Lovecraft stories in a lot of ways.
I mean, At the Mountains of Madness is probably the best one, or one of the best ones.
I think Color Out of Space is the one that I think is the best.
Yeah, it's my favorite one.
It's a respectable answer.
I feel like Color Out of Space works because it has like it does actually manage to be scary in that cosmic horror sense of like there's something is happening that no one has any way of understanding.
And it's not like Lovecraft going like, oh no, brown people. For like,
well, that is another thing. Yeah.
Like Color Out of Space is like people being confronted with something they can't understand that is completely uncaring, but it's not just like, hey, monsters with weird tentacles or like a giant gelatinous cube that we might call a shoggoth or whatever, right? Like, because you never actually get to see any monsters. I think that's why the horror in Color Out of Space works so well.
That's why the film was so annoying. One half of it I liked because I think, we had Nicolas Cage and it really worked with him going crazy because he does that very well. And I feel like that part of the movie was really good. But the problem is that it's a movie and the entire story that is based on, it's a color out of space. And we can't describe the color. We don't know what it looks like because it's unfathomable to us. But it is very clearly magenta in the film. Magenta. And people go, well, magenta isn't really a color if you think about it. And I go, no, you're coping. That's a color. It's pink. Okay, like
hold on, let me look this up.
I feel like that makes a lot. As someone living in Germany, that makes a lot of sense because like the color magenta has for the longest time been the like brand color of the German telecom and thus also T-Mobile, and they have used that color explicitly in all their advertisement for the last 30 something years, and no one else in Germany used the color magenta explicitly. So the color magenta is very explicitly tied to T-Mobile, which is a horror all of its own.
Yeah. There you go. It comes full circle.
It's a very specific color coming out of space or out of fiberglass, I guess.
Yeah. But if you want to see Nicolas Cage go ham, he does do that very well, and it works for that film because they're supposed to go crazy the longer they're around it. So that does work. But it really upset me that I got an official color to something that's supposed to be indescribable. So
yeah. Yeah, octarine, but octarine is a sort of greenish purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I've
you guys watched the Game Awards yesterday?
No.
Video games, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know it happened. Who won?
Exhibition 33.
I think I've heard of that game. I've been so bad at keeping
It's
up with
it's a
the
big
video.
French game that everybody's raving about.
Yeah,
Oh, is that
it's
the
Swift.
no? It's Claire Obscura. That's not that
It
game.
won
No,
so many
it's-
awards.
Claire Obscura didn't win. I mean, I haven't played it, but I'm considering how much love that got. I'm surprised I didn't win anything. They didn't win anything.
Nope. No,
Man.
Hades 2 got something.
Okay.
There weren't too many games that I was interested in. There was a Mega Man game they showed.
Oh, it's the same game. We're all dumb.
Mega
It's,
Man.
Oh well, it's the
it's just
okay.
use the subtitle.
Okay, well, it's
Mega Man and Star Wars. This one's gonna be more like a sequel kind of to the 19.
you know, I
Republic
did
game.
play. I did finally get around to playing Jedi Fallen Order Survivor, which was really
nice.
good.
Yeah.
Some
As for that
really
new Star Wars
top-notch
game,
Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. I don't know about it. It's very vague right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
need some
think
more information
people
about it.
on my side of the fence need to not have their hopes up because we haven't been given a bone yet. So I don't expect to be given a bone now, especially with something so expensive. When the Expanded Universe fans have only asked for books and stuff, when you don't even get that. So why would they make a big budget game? It is in the Old Republic, but I doubt it will be anything related to the stuff that people actually care about. So I'm not too excited for it personally, but I'm sure it will have references to things from the things I like, but it's not going to be anything like that. So it's
Like
a bit of a controversial thing right
Revan
now.
and Mandalore the Ultimate.
Yeah, none of that stuff.
None of that good stuff.
He's my favorite Sith Lord too, Darth Revan.
Darth Revan? Yeah.
Yeah,
He's only a Sith for a little bit till he's a Jedi. So.
Yeah, no, it's so annoying. Like the book annoys the crap out of me because it basically just like undoes like a lot of the cool stuff from like kind of undoes a lot of the cool stuff that was like implied about Revan. And I'm like, well, that's annoying.
Well, that's not the
He just was brainwashed into it.
It's the well, I think it's a bit more nuanced. That's a different discussion another time. But it's based on the MMO.
Oh, that's right, Alex. You simp real hard for the EU, so you would probably disagree with me on this.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not even a big fan of the MMO. I'm just saying, like, I think in the
I'm just
context of the
teasing you, by the way. You can like whatever you want.
I just think it's a bit more nuanced than just he was brainwashed. I know that's like what the game or what the novel presents, but if you look at the universe,
the Sith, he just walks in with Malik to see the big bad makes Palpatine look like a bitch in comparison, you know, and he's just like, oh, you're Sith now, and he's basically like, oh, I'm Sith now. We should take over the galaxy. You're like, what?
Yeah. Well, again, so if you listen to what Kreia says, which you have to take with a grain of salt in KOTOR 2, because she never actually got to see Revan. She just says she trained him, so she has no idea what he actually went through when he did stuff. She's just guessing based on who she knows he was. But he was already clearly going dark during the Mandalorian War, just to quickly go over this, because he was doing a lot of dark things during the war that the Jedi didn't agree with. He then, with Malik, goes and finds his Sith Lord and gets basically told to go attack the Republic. He comes back, and I would argue gets himself back in his mind because he's powerful enough, but still continues to go through with it because he knows that that guy's such a threat that it's more important to have everything under one heel to defeat that guy than to have them keep squabbling with each other, because the Jedi didn't even deal with the Mandalorians, so why are they going to deal with this too? So I think it's a mix of things. I think he came mind controlled or whatever you want to call it, but got out of it and continued to do it anyway because he figured that's what was best. But that's a whole other discussion. I'm not making my argument clear right now because I don't want to make this whole stream about that, but I think it's more complicated.
Yeah, no, that was funny because someone was like, "Oh, if you're annoyed by that, you should read Sun Eater because that's kind of what that's about." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting."
I
You
would
got
kill
the
for a
Dune-
Tarzan
Dune
book, just one, but we won't get it. I know Drew Carpershin would love to write it, but Disney will not. I think he's like tweeted he's gone to Disney. Like, can I just write this? I'll even do it for like a pay cut. They're like, no, they want nothing Legends made. So
I would have liked the night because how it ended. Because we know how it ends, and we know who her apprentice is. Now, give me some more plot lines that they hinted at the last Darth Bane book for a cliffhanger for another trilogy. That would have been very nice to read because I have that on my bookshelf.
yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole of itself. But it's just very disappointing because Marvel, DC, they've got like thousands of different timelines and universes and different versions of the same people, and nobody's confused there. They get it. They buy and read what they want. Star Wars has two. They have everything prior to Disney's buyout and everything after. You could still make books and comics, no more TV shows, still make plenty of money from the people who want that old stuff and make everybody happy. But instead, they're very insistent that they only have the one. So
Well, even the new stuff that they have, there's like that big gap between episode Return of Jedi and Force Awakens. That could be a bunch of books right there to build up the First Order and how they got established.
I think they're trying to move past that.
They're trying to move past
The
that.
sequels. I think they're just trying to not talk about that.
Kind of going back to the cosmic
Yeah, sorry.
horror talk. I did like Discovery from the Mintons, J.J. Minton, but it's three people. It's the Minton family, and it's quite good. I enjoyed that. I thought that was a really interesting take on.
I've heard exists, but
They just recently put out the audio.
I know all about the audio. It's supposed to be really, really good, but I've been, occupied with other stuff. And right now I'm reading Treasure at Silver Lake.
Look, hey, Raph, I know you have your priorities. I'm not telling you to go read Discovery. You read it on your own time, buddy. I'm just saying it did come out. So in case you are curious, like apparently they got a whole cast for it. So I mean, it's pretty wild.
Well, bye, Bibliophile Reads. Nice to see you here.
Yeah,
man.
take care, man, and thank you for joining in for a minute.
Now, it's all something I'm aware of right now. I did start rereading Treasure at Silver Lake, and I read that last when I was 10 years old. And oh my!
Is that part of Karl Moss?
Yes, that's part of Kalmas. That's the first one. It's a German Western story written in 1891. It's clearly heavily influenced by James Fenimore Cooper, but it's also very German, and it's a thing.
It's a thing that happened. I hear what you're saying.
Well, it's very.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
He exploded.
In the first chapter, second chapter, it's very clear that people are having a conversation about the fact that European whites are killing Native Americans and are eradicating Native Americans, and that is bad. It's very explicit, which is, I don't want to hand it to Karl May because there's a lot of other stuff really wrong, but he was very clear about what was going on at that time. So there's that.
Yeah, it's I mean, I haven't read Karl May. Karl May? Yeah. I don't know if I want to because it sounds kind of like pulp hackery, which I hate to say because I don't really like the term hack. I think it's quite dismissive, but from the sounds of it, I mean, he inspired Hitler, so I mean that probably speaks to the quality.
Well, I mean, he did also inspire Arnold Schwarzenegger and Albert Einstein.
Well, okay, I guess that makes up.
Well, that's 2 out of 3. Something.
And to be fair, Karl May, beyond anything else, was a lifelong pacifist and did give speeches on the virtues of pacifism. So you could kind of see how Hitler kind of misunderstood him. He did shortly before his death, he did give a speech in a public sort of talk in Vienna that maybe or maybe not Hitler actually attended. And one of the other guests that was there to be there because of that speech that Karl May was giving at the time, was one of the first winners of a Nobel Peace Prize, because, Karl May was a well-known pacifist. So
I'll be right back. Keep the audiences entertained.
it's a very weird kind of text, and you can tell that it's written in the 19th century, and it's interesting for me to read that because, like, the kind of German, there's like certain aspects to the language, like words he uses, that you can tell no one would use these days. It's a very specific 19th century German that he uses. It's interesting to read that, but it's at the same time you see like parallels to other stuff that was published in periodicals like Alexandre Dumas and stuff like that, which he was heavily inspired by, and translate that into like a specific like German culture in a lot of ways. So it's interesting to read that, but it's also, I think what's interesting to me is like how I read that as a kid without ever questioning anything, and how like a century of Germans, like literally everyone, like most Germans read that as a teenager at some point, at least one book for like a century without questioning anything about that. And that's interesting. Like that level of influence is insane.
So yes, I see you're looking forward to Karlmas.
It's going to be interesting, I think. Like I'm learning a lot. I'm thinking a lot about like how to do that, because unlike with the last ones, both the Drizzt and Nausmas, Karlmas will need, require me to give a bit more context and explanation, just because it's,
because it's Karlmas,
it never got really big outside of like the non-English speaking it got very big in all of Europe, just not in like the English speaking part, and in America even less. Like that motherfucker sold 200 million copies. Like that's a lot. 200 million books is a lot of books. 100 million in German and another 100 million in all kinds of other languages, including, Dutch, Hungarian, Turkish, Bulgarian, Croatian, Romanian. All of Europe has read this motherfucker. Just not the British and the Americans. And it has had a huge fucking impact on a lot of people's sort of like views of America for a long time.
Yeah, I haven't.
So
I
it's
haven't
interesting
read any,
in that regard.
I haven't read any Stephen Donaldson. I kind of don't want to. I've heard his what is it called, Lord Falsbane's kind of like Edgelord, Lord of the Rings, and people are like, oh no, it's a bit more deeper than that. And I'm like, oh, I don't care. So I don't know. Maybe someday I'll read it, but I'm not really itching to read it.
I have not read it either. Maybe someday. I have read Conan.
I have read Conan as well.
I have read. I've read the first trilogy, the first Chronicles of Thomas the Covenant, the Unbeliever, and they are really good. And it's one of those things where you have like, there's a couple of these kind of books that are sort of like everyone knows this one thing, and that's sort of like what that book is branded by. And trust me, I mean, maybe don't. Yes, the thing happens. Yes, Thomas Covenant rapes the first woman he comes across. That is actually happening. And it's bad. And it's made very clear that it's bad. And it's sort of the thing that shapes the rest of that trilogy, the fact that he did that and has to figure out why and has to come to terms with that and has to live with the consequences. And the consequences are bad. They are actually really bad because, sexual violence is kind of bad.
Yeah.
So it is not exactly, it's not fucking what's his face Prince of Thorns levels of like, hey, casual sexism, isn't it fun?
Yeah,
it's very much not that.
Very intentional, I'd imagine.
But I have not read The Mirror of Her Dreams. I want to read more Donaldson. My problems with the Covenant thing is that he is very actively sort of trying to subvert elements of Tolkien, and he is pretty successful at it. But he's also trying to use a very Tolkien-sounding prose style, and that's where it fails, because Tolkien is able to do Tolkien prose because Tolkien has, decades as a literary scholar and linguist behind him. Donaldson doesn't have that. So when he goes into that specific sort of like style, it feels artificial, I think. At least if you've read if you've read both like Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and other stuff, you're like, this feels fake. That's kind of the problem that I have with Donaldson.
Yeah, but I like Conan. I think there's some really great stuff. There's a vitality to at least the original stories. I don't know. I mean, Victor, you can ask these questions in the chat.
Yeah.
No, sorry about that. I'm not.
Like you can ask. You're here. You can ask them here. But no.
How much Conan have you read though, Britton?
I have the 3 Del Rey editions, which I always recommend to people. I have read the first.
That's the best one. Yes.
Basically,
I got those too. I haven't read them yet.
The bloody crown, the conquering sword, and the coming of Conan the Cimmerian.
I've read the coming of really Conan the Cimmerian, which has some of my favorite Conan stories. I've heard the.
Yes, I love like that. I think the level of variety in that one I think is really good. You have like I like stuff like the God in the Bowl and what's the one, Rogues in the House, because those are sort of like more interesting in that it's not just like Conan being like the dude with the biggest sword doing the dude with the biggest sword stuff, but like he's without a weapon in one of them, and the other one with Rogues in the House, you have like all these, everyone is going into that house to kill that priest because everyone has a reason to kill that fucking priest, and then and then his like tame ape, giant ape has done it for them, and I like that because it shows that there is like more to Conan than the thing that everyone thinks of when they think of Conan, which is the guy in the loincloth with a massive sword. And it's like, no, there's more to that. There's
he's done a lot of things with his life. Now, it was funny because Alex and I were talking about Conan the other day, and he was like, yeah, I mean, I like these stories, but there's some of them that are kind of like, oh man, I don't know, and I'm like, oh yeah, which one kind of got you? And he's all like, oh, they were talking about how the people looked frog-lipped.
Right.
I'm like, I'm surprised it wasn't the one where Conan says it's his duty as a white man to save the lady.
Well, that one I was like, for some reason I was like, that's less got to me than, oh, by the way, we're like in an African jungle. Oh, you look at all these frog-lip people. But
that's the thing. Is like Valley of Lost Women is probably the most racist Conan story, or the second most racist, or the second most, because there's also Shadows in Zamboula, which is also really bad.
Yeah,
those two I think stand out for their like explicit racism.
Just the racism bad.
Yeah, I'm surprised because Conan, for as early as those are written, most of them are pretty fine in terms of all that stuff. But when it comes out, it really comes out. Like,
Are they?
I think that
Are they a quick read, them Conan books, or are they like long?
I mean, they're like a collection of short stories, so you can always stop in between and then read another one, because they're not in like a chronological order. They're like usually in publication order. You can just like read one and go like, well, if I feel like another Conan story, you pick up another one, but they're not like ongoing novels, so that works really well.
They came out in pulps back in the day, which are like these magazines. Nice. So they were
Is Red Sonja in them?
Red Sonja
make an appearance in the books?
Red Sonja is another Robert E. Howard story that is not part of the Conan context. It is.
I think it was just a character he kind of just made as like a throwaway, and people were like, "Oh, that's cool. We should do something with that." And
there's one or two stories about Red Sonja, but Red Sonja shows up in a very different time period. So it's one of like his more historical fantasy, historical fiction stories. It's in another collection. I just try to remember which collection Red Sonja is in, because all of his stuff is like collected in all kinds of stuff, and you have like the 3 Conan novel like collections, and then there's the Call of Atlantis collection, there's the Bran McMorn collection, then there's the Solomon Kane one, which is really racist, unfortunately. That's where the racism gets like almost all the time. At least
I
some
mean,
of
I
it
really
is
like Solomon Kane, but yeah, I mean, I gotta agree. I mean, don't get me wrong, Nalanga's great, but I'll just say it hasn't aged very well.
Yeah, Solomon
I
Kane's
mean,
also got a lot of racist stuff, but I do enjoy the archetype of the character. I just wish it was in a less,
yeah,
just
I
written
like
later, I
Less
guess.
sussy, man.
I like the first Solomon Kane story because there the bad guy is the French guy, and I'm very happy with that one. And I think the one
you don't like the Right Hand of Doom? That's probably my favorite Kane story. I think it's the best one. I don't know if it's my favorite
which
one.
which one is that?
That's the one where the sorcerer has the hand and kills the guy who ratted him out.
Is that the one
I
where
think
he just like, where Solomon doesn't actually do anything?
Yeah,
just
no, he's
witnesses
just
what
like,
happened?
yeah, he's just like sitting around, and it's like, oh, okay.
is that the one? Is that the one where he's in Germany in like the Black Forest in that like tavern? That one I really like because it's
It's Black Forest, yeah.
He's kind of like, what I realized is, I mean, I only read a few. I still need to finish the rest of Solomon Kane, but he's like the Puritan religious version of like The Witcher a little bit. Like he kind of does like a similar
he's
thing. He
very
goes
much the
around killing
Witcher,
monsters
but
and stuff.
he's also very different from like if you actually know anything about Puritanism, he's not a good Puritan. Just to be clear.
No, he's not.
Cotton Mather would be aghast. No, and then there's like the El Borak stories, which is like his like early 20th century American adventurer hanging out with a lot of Afghans fighting, I guess, corrupt British and Indian invaders in Afghanistan, which is really interesting stuff. There's a lot more, and all of them have their own sort of like issues and so forth. And I try to remember where the Red Sonja, in which collection the Red Sonja stories are. Valeria shows up, at least like Valeria from the Conan movie shows up in Red Nails, where where Conan is after her because Conan wants to rape her because Conan is Conan, and then she goes like, "Yeah, fuck you," and then they just then he's not able to actually beat her in a sword fight, so they have to team up together to then fight a lot of other people and dinosaurs.
I mean, my favorite's the Frost Giant's daughter, where it's basically just Conan chasing a woman, so he could have his way with her, basically. And you're just like, well, that's okay.
So the whole plot is like, I want to have sex with this girl that doesn't want it, and then I'm supposed to root for Conan in that story because the story doesn't at all frame him in a bad light. It's just something he's doing for that story. And I'm like, okay.
It's funny. Joe Byrne made a video about pagan heroes the other day, and he was talking about Superman. If Superman's a pagan hero, I'm like, I don't know if I agreed with it, but he made up a good point. I'm like, well, when I think of like a pagan hero, I think of like Conan.
I think I don't think that works. What I commented on Joe's video on that is like the idea of the Christian hero being about sacrifice. That's not a Christian hero. That's a very specifically Catholic hero, and that makes sense because he's building that from Christopher Rocchio, who's Catholic, and it kind of works because Gene Wolfe was Catholic. Like the idea of a Catholic hero is your martyr and your saint. Your fucking Calvinists are not about actually, sacrifice and saints and martyrs. That's not what Calvinism is all about.
No, it's about everything being predetermined.
Exactly.
So they can get along with a bit backer, even though he doesn't agree with them. It all comes full circle.
Yeah. No, so I do see the distinction that Rocchio makes, but I don't think it works as Christian versus pagan. I think it is very specifically a Catholic and Orthodox.
Also, hello, John. How you doing?
It's a Catholic and Orthodox.
There's a lot of Catholics in fantasy, like Tolkien, and there's Gene Wolfe, and then if you want to call Christopher Rocchio fantasy, say
it's space operas, sci-fi, but
I would argue that's because Catholicism makes for better mythology. The same way that Mormons are very overrepresented in fantasy and science fiction writing
that's right. I mean, Dave Butler is or DJ Butler as he's probably better known. Actually edited Rockio's books, and also my friend Chance Dillon's book that just recently came out. I actually have it over there. He's also a Mormon.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of Mormon writers and so forth because
Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, Brando
Yes.
Sando. Yeah,
Sanderson,
Liam.
Stephanie Meyer.
Yep, Sanderson's a good one.
Stephanie Meyer, what's his face? The guy that I hate, who wrote Ender's Game.
Orson Scott Card.
Yeah, that's the guy, the homophobe.
Liam's Lyceum. Yeah, is he technically a
What about the Wheel of
Right.
Time guy?
No, he wasn't.
Mormon?
He wasn't Mormon.
He was. I thought he was Mormon. So that's why
Robert
they
Jordan?
picked Brandon Sanderson to finish the Wheel of Time.
I
'Cause he
don't
was a
know.
big-
I don't know about Robert Jordan. I never checked. Could be, could not be. I know about Orson Scott Card. There's what's his face? The guy who wrote the Tale of Tales story, the Rune Lord story. He's the Powder Mage guy might also be. I don't know. There's a lot. My point is more that that Mormonism as a religious system, and there is still a video coming. I have worked on that. Does
the
once again
ever mythical Mormon video from Raph? Because he
I
can't
have
just
several.
go-
I have several half-finished versions of that lying around. I just need to finish it.
Because he can't just go, hey, I think Brandon Sanderson's kind of whack, and here's why. He can't do that. He's like, I gotta make a whole video about Mormonism.
I got no
Like,
opinion
like-
because I gotta work up to the Cosmere.
I think
I've
no,
read
but
some of them.
the thing with Mormonism there is that Mormonism is not just a religion; it's also a cultural thing. You have someone like Brian Lee Durfee who grew up Mormon, but is very much not part of the church anymore. But he still comes from that background, so it does still influence his writing. The same way that someone who grew up Catholic and left the Catholic Church will still be influenced by that upbringing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, like George R. R.
but-
Martin.
I don't know if he was Catholic.
We-
I feel
I
like
don't know
he's
if
a
he
bunch
was
of
I don't think he's
religion is-
Catholic anymore.
I didn't know
He's
he was
definitely
ever
atheist
Catholic.
now, but I don't know what he was.
He
growing
also
up.
just really sucks at writing about religion. I can tell you that.
I gotta say,
Hey, my
when I
sweater.
watched you and Jimmy and Philip and Joanna talk about Backer's trilogy, I was
Yeah.
like, I know we probably don't agree on everything, but I got immense pleasure out of you're like, yeah, but like he doesn't write religion well. You can't he's like, he's not actually talking about religion. Like you
Hello,
just
Mac.
reading the basics of it. Yeah, like it was great watching because like everybody's like,
I
don't
guess
know,
I
we
like
it.
how I kind of like how he depicts religion, but whatever, it doesn't matter what I think.
I think that's, like
Well, I was
for me,
on
the thing
Game
is
of Thrones about Backer, but
Backer.
Oh, you're talking about Backer. I'm like,
Yeah.
I haven't read any of his books. In honesty, after that argument he had with my friend where he came off as really defensive, I kind of don't want to read his books, to be honest with you. But
I mean, like
they're
I
good.
feel from
I would say writing wise, but
they're pretty good writing wise. I think they have a lot of failings. I have issues with the level of Orientalism when it comes to his totally not Byzantium is unnecessarily through the roof. Where like everyone in the totally not Byzantium part is over the top, corrupt, and effeminate. That's like Orientalist tropes that don't need to be there.
the first
Okay.
trilogy he wants to do a critique of the Crusades and everything. But as
Yeah,
Raph
but
said in the videos, he doesn't actually dive into faith and why people believe what they believe. They just kind of
Yeah.
do. But we never really get an exploration of how they come to that faith, what makes them
Yeah.
keep that around. It's just like they have that and they're stupid for having it.
Yeah. Well,
know?
that's probably like and
I
maybe
thought you
that's
were
like,
talking about George R. R. Martin. I'm like, I thought George R. R. Martin's depiction of faith was actually pretty respectful for the most part. Except for like the people in like King's Landing, which is basically like the bad religious people. But it's kind of a given.
I think it like George R. Martin doesn't actually talk much about religion. He has the church, but everyone is kind of going, "Oh yeah, the sept, whatever," and he doesn't actually explore religion as a thing, and that's something you have with a lot of fantasy
a lot
and
of
science
fantasy
fiction
does that.
authors, because it is difficult to do that. Because faith is one of those, and I'm saying this as someone who is not a religious person, because I don't have that. Okay, there's a wonderful terminology that only works really well in German. German philosopher Georg Gadamer, recently passed away, like a decade ago. Mostly did philosophy of law and that kind of stuff. And he said in German that he was religiös unmusikalisch, which means in religious things he is amusical. He doesn't, the same way that some people just don't understand music or can't, have no access to music. He can't get access to religion. It's not there. That specific thing that is below the rational. It's more like a intuitive whatever kind of thing.
Raph, I guess a lot of people didn't like what you had to say about the thousandfold thought.
I enjoyed his perspective because it was. I mean, the other three, I love them. I love their channels, but they're all basically.
Some of these people are acting like you shot their dog.
Raph was the only one who gave like a little bit
damn,
of
dude.
pushback, which I appreciated.
It is just a book at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, A Thousandfold Thought. I enjoyed the book. But I just appreciated Raph's, like he gave a different perspective from the other three who were kind of just on the same wavelength. As for Thurnall's comment, I'd say, I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but I think Hyperion, which particularly doesn't actually ascribe to religion, I don't think, but I think it does a good job of evoking this sort of
it was
something
one of
higher.
my one of my favorite stories from Hyperion was the priest's story.
Yeah, I think it gets close to that sort of like form of religious devotion in a lot of ways. It obviously also doesn't actually touch the fundamental sort of like what makes people actually believe, but that's really hard to get to. That's kind of the point, right? It's because it is beyond.
George has a good. Just to answer this question, George has a good use of religion in his books, given that they have a price, like the blood magic. They're not really as well detailed and defined like Tolkien does it, where it's more soft than hard.
Also, I'm not just saying this because I'm friends with the guy, but I actually thought Philip Chase's depiction of religion was quite fascinating in the Adan trilogy.
I haven't read that yet, so I can't speak to that.
I'll put that on my list.
I think it all comes down to a wider thing of, because I've read all of Backer's books, and not to bring this back to Backer, but there's
sorry, Alex, finish what you were going to say, and then I'll say my piece.
I was just going to say, I think that like when you finish Backer's books, he's very clearly trying to evoke this no free will, there is no God, everything kind of sucks, yada, yada, yada. But then you finish that series, and whether or not he writes any more, I don't know if he will. It kind of ends where there could be more, there could not. But it's like there's nothing there to grasp onto. It just kind of ends, and there's nothing transcendent. But when you read stuff like Lord of the Rings or other fantasy, maybe they don't do religion in terms of exploring why people believe as they do well. But I think a lot of them evoke a sort of transcendent something for you to grasp onto that may not be a particular religion, but there's something there that through the fantasy they make you go, oh, there is more than just this that they evoke through their text, no matter their faith or lack of. That I think Martin does. I don't think Backer's trying to do. So
I think you go first.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think with religion, it kind of reminds me, funnily enough, of, Raph and I a few weeks ago were talking about, maybe this was a month ago, we were talking about like writing sex and fiction, how, it's kind of a weird thing because, it's so personal. So, people are, I think it's the same thing with religion. I'm not trying to be dirty here, but because someone's religious belief is such like a personal thing, it can be kind of hard to get it right in a sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yes and no. I think the difference between someone like Backer and some other authors is you need to, if you're writing about religion, you need to take it seriously and respect it as a thing that exists. It's like you don't have to agree with it, because I, as a non-religious person, I don't have access to that. I know people who are very religious, and and I went to church as a kid. I got like first communion and everything. I'm still technically a member of the Catholic Church, right? um, but that belief, that intuitive sort of like belief thing, has never been there. But I can take it seriously in others and respect it in others. And Becker doesn't do that. Becker does believe that it's a grand delusion and needs to be, taken down. It drives people mad and so forth. He does not actually take it seriously as a thing that moves people in a non-cynical way. And that, I think, is the key that you need to bring to that. And I would agree with Thornall that I think it was Thornall, Canticle for Leibowitz definitely is really good when it comes to religion. It's generally one of the best science fiction books that you can read. Like Canticle for Leibowitz is amazing, and it goes some really, really tough and hard places, especially in the third book. Holy shit!
I think maybe to a half extent too. I would say, especially because I think Frank Herbert would be more on the side of Backer, maybe not as extreme, but I think he does do a good job of showing the religion, if not the individual, what it can do collectively. With people believing and stuff. So,
I think like the difference is with Herbert versus say Backer is that it is very clear that most of the people within the Dune universe, outside of the Bene Gesserit, are true believers, and they are not cynics in like the believers in the Fremen religion are not cynically manipulating anything. You know what I mean? And you read a lot of you read Backer, and it feels like 99% of the church in Backer are all cynics there that are just there to grab power and manipulate people. And that's not how religion works. You should assume that 99% of popes were actually sincere believers. They were also people of power that did like a lot of
attempting to extend their power and influence.
Yeah, of course, but they did not do that despite of, you know what I mean? You need to assume that these people were sincere believers, and that is important. And I know that's kind of difficult in the time that we live in now, but if you're writing something that takes in sort of like inspiration from the Middle Ages, you need to assume that the people that called for the first Crusades were sincere fucking believers. And if that falls away, then you're missing a massive sort of like dimension of the whole thing.
A movie that I think
the more
does
you
that
guys are
well.
talking about it, it doesn't sound like I would enjoy R. Scott Backer very much.
I don't think anybody enjoys R. Scott Backer. It's an experience. I'd say I was engaged
maybe that's the
whole
wrong
time.
word. Maybe I would maybe I wouldn't take to his work. This sounds really unappealing to me. Not that
I think
I'm
he is
against
interesting.
a negative portrayal of religion. I mean, Preacher's one of my favorite comics of all time.
He does very interesting things. That's
his writing is superb. That's for sure.
He knows how to use words, but there are things where his personal sort of like his personal philosophy takes over in a way that does damage the novels, I think.
That being said, also, I love me my Conan archetype, and Nair might be the worst example of that ever in terms of like morality, but he's so fascinating to read. Every time he comes on and says something, I'm like, yes, let's go. Even though he's terrible. Same thing with Kellis, the main guy, who I hate. I hate him so much. Like I get he has to be doing something right because I haven't got such visual, emotional stake in something in my life, despite the fact that I hate it. But like his whole thing is he's kind of like Paul Atreides on steroids, and he kind of just manipulates everybody he talks to like all the time. So there's this couple in the series that's also not a particularly healthy couple, but they're probably the most pure thing out of the entire series, which is Acanian and Esmenet. And that's not exactly, they're not pure, but in terms of everything else that happens, it's the most pure thing in there. And to see what happens in the second, third book there just pissed me off to no ends. And that's all due to Backer's writing. He did it well. But I was infuriated by the end of A Thousandfold Thought with that aspect. And it only continues in the
I think you're confused there. I have read a Prince of Nothing trilogy. I have not read the Aspect Emperor.
I think he was talking. I think he was talking to me when he said that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, probably.
because I
I read
haven't read
Aspect Emperor, but
I've heard that one is better because it's weirder.
And also,
It is weird.
R. Scott Backer, however you pronounce his name,
it's
kind of
also
sounds like
not
a
just
jerk
on
off.
some
Honestly,
crusade. It's on
Yeah.
bigger things.
Yeah.
But sexual assault, well, you know, it's the same amount, but it happens to men too now. So that's something. Yeah. So
that does set him apart from a lot of other fantasy writers. I'll give him that.
It also just ends. You're not getting a happy ending, or even a real
that.
ending.
I mean, again, I
really. It
don't
just
mind that.
ends.
I'm not saying like.
Wasn't there supposed to be like another series to be coming that he never wrote because he
Supposedly,
got pissed
that
off
was,
at
like, years
everything?
ago.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's fine.
No, I think in this case it was like, I mean, he was more like, yeah, there's another one coming, and then he got really mad at people getting mad at him for some of the stuff he wrote, and then he just like did a mic drop and went back to his house and just did like farm repairs and angry blog posts about how man does not have free will, and that I think is where it ended with Backer.
So if there's
Also,
no free will, then everybody who doesn't like his books were determined from eternity past to not like his books, and they couldn't choose to like his books if they wanted to, because they were always going to not like it.
You know, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that idea that there is no free will. I mean, I haven't really read the book yet, but if he thinks there's no God, but also there's no free will, then like, how does he explain that? Does he explain that?
Well, the thing is that
it's pure materialism
in the books because he's the author. He's writing the story, so every character in his story, of course, must go down the path that he's determined because he's written it. But then obviously, if it was real world, people made choices, right? Like they don't have supposedly some author controlling their actions, but everything works in his favor for his points that he's trying to make philosophically because he is the god of the world. He writes what they can and can't do. So it's a little annoying because it's like, well, yeah, because you constructed this narrative where they can't do anything else because you're the writer.
And the thing is, like, Baker, just like me, did start a philosophy PhD and never finished it. But some of his papers are available on academia.edu if you want to read those. And he's just a straight up materialist where everything is determined because it's all physics and nothing else. And if you understand more of that, then you can control others because you can manipulate their perceptions and so forth. That's kind of the thing he does. He wrote a sci-fi novel called Neuropath that goes down the same sort of direction. I haven't read it.
I don't know. I'm not.
It's just a general thing that he does.
I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. That just. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, a lot of the authors I mean, there's a lot of authors I really enjoy that I don't agree with politically. I mean, Alan Moore, I'd probably say we're pretty. I wouldn't say we're opposite. I mean, I'm not like a fascist or anything, but he's very like far left, and I'm pretty like center right. Same thing with, China Mieville, he's pretty far left. I'm pretty pro-capitalism. So, I mean, it's not, I still enjoy them. I still like their work.
I mean, it's the same thing. I can't say I liked my time because I was always kind of miserable, but that's kind of the point. But I was very infatuated with them as I read them. Like I could not put them down. Like they were very engaging, but they're not something you read like, oh, I want to have a good time right now.
Well, yeah, I got that. I've heard that from a lot of people. So, I mean, I'm not thinking it's going to be like a great time. And like I said, I don't like hate like dark. I mean, a lot of my favorite stories are pretty dark, but like, I don't know, just from what I've been hearing from people, it doesn't sound like something I would.
He's too smarmy about the whole thing for me. It's like,
that doesn't help.
He's like, it sounds kind of like Reddit atheist stuff, where you're like, come on.
It very much is that.
The whole free will thing.
At least with like Dark Venice, it's entertaining. You're just like, oh, I like these characters. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with what he's saying, but I have fun with it. But
he makes all these arguments, makes all these blog posts, and he argues with people. But at the end of the day, if his worldview is true, which I do think is consistent with the beliefs he holds, I think people that believe they have freedom of choice and aren't religious, I think there's a little bit of it's a complicated thing there of
again, I hate to argue with the philosophical thesis of this book I haven't read yet, but if there is no God, if that's what that series leans on, then like doesn't that mean like anything is permissible, to borrow something Dostoevsky
Well, I mean,
said?
kind of everything does happen in that series, so I suppose, yeah, a lot of bad things happen there. So,
I
but
think
the thing is, it's not though, because he moralizes clearly through the Crusades in the first trilogy that things are bad. But how do you justify that if like the rape and stuff that happens in the series? If there's no free will, it was always going to happen. So there was no way for them to not choose that. How do you judge someone that could not have done otherwise? How do we put anybody
Yeah, I
in
think,
prison that could not have done
and,
otherwise if that was
and
always
I
what they
think
would do?
I think
It's just a
that's the point.
self-refuting.
It's like it's not so much about whether there is a God or not. It's very much about the question of whether there is free will or not. And those two
Oh,
things
okay.
are
Wow.
those are two different arguments, and they sometimes overlap and they sometimes don't. And yes, I agree with you, Mac. There is a lot of like arguing with Nietzsche in those books, and I assume there's more of it later on. I just at some point I'll read the rest of it. I'm sure.
Raph, when I said pretentious people quote Nietzsche, I was wrong. I think it's insufferable people who quote Nietzsche.
Yeah,
It
I just
depends
think it's
on
funny
which
he
part of
argues with
Nietzsche.
people online.
It really depends on which part of Nietzsche you quote. And Nietzsche is worthwhile reading. I will say this.
Oh no, he definitely is. I like Nietzsche. It's just some of his fans I'm kind of annoyed with because they're all like, they can be real swarmy at times.
Yeah, definitely. People who just randomly quote Nietzsche at you are usually people that deserve to be smacked in the face. That is just unfortunately true.
It's like people who like Sartre, You're just like, God.
Okay, guys.
Out there, man.
Wouldn't want to interrupt you, but it's getting kind of dark where I'm at, so I'm gonna head out.
Well, thanks for joining us, Victor. It was nice meeting you, man.
Nice. Definitely.
Thank you too, guys.
Well,
nice
happy
conversation.
winter solstice.
Indeed.
Have a nice one.
Have a nice one.
But yeah.
Speaking of, I'm gonna get myself another drink because this one has been empty for a while.
All right, you do that, Ref. So Max says the no God is more of an anti-God.
Yeah, it's more of like an antichrist.
With the bleakness. My God. Maybe I should read it just to see what I think of it. You know what?
I'd be so curious to know your thoughts actually, just because it's such an experience. I don't even know. That's why, when people said like, the Abercrombie's books are dark, I'm like, this is small potatoes by comparison.
I was about to say, I don't think Abercrombie's like that dark. Like it gets dark.
No, it's nice. I mean, the humor kind of makes the stuff that Glock is doing is very bad and not nice. But because he's so funny, I guess I just don't care. But he's doing really horrible things throughout the series.
Yeah, but like there's still like a humanity to the characters.
No, yeah,
it's not like they're just bastards the whole time.
Well, I should say too, like I don't want to mischaracterize. Like I think the most moral person would probably be Akamian in Backer's work, which is
you're talking about Backer. Like a wizard. Sorry, I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, sorry. I'm just saying because you're saying like like not complete bastards. Like in Backer's work, there's a lot of like. I
was about to say it just sounds like in Backer's books, like everyone's an asshole.
Yeah, I think Akamian's the least, and then like the woman, I'd say like outside of one, like most of them aren't even like terrible. Like Esmenet in the first trilogy, her main thing is she has like no self-esteem, and so she just like gets like just screwed over time and time again. And so that's why I like made the comparison when I read these books. I said it's kind of like, because in my mind, as the religious sort here, I'm not giving a sermon, but hell, when the Bible talks about hell, or when Jesus talks about it, he says it's a place of eternal, hellfire, but it's also a place of eternal darkness. How can there be hellfire if it's eternal darkness? The light would illuminate. So I think accidentally Backer kind of made like a series of books that is like exactly what I'd expect hell to be like.
Oh my
God. Like it's just the absence of God and people at their absolute worst, whether that
It's so
be
weird. I've heard good arguments for why I probably shouldn't read Backer's work now, and I've heard good arguments on why I should. This is such a weird thing now.
it's a thing where I would not recommend it to anybody, but if you vibe with it, you'll read through
Like, look,
all
I
of it
love
like
dark
I did.
shit. I mean, I love dark, depraved stuff, but like, there has to be like a little light in there. Like, honestly,
Yeah, there really isn't. Akamian is probably the lightest thing, and that's not much, but he's probably the closest you get to something okay. And even then, that's not saying much. And then Esminette, like, isn't even like, I wouldn't even say she's like a morally horrible character. She just, like, in the first series, she has like no autonomy, and she is just kind of super low self-esteem. In the second series, she gets a lot more autonomy, kind of.
isn't there a
But
character that's like a prostitute? My friend Jason, who
yes,
doesn't read a lot of fantasy and is real picky about what fantasy he reads, he liked her character a lot. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
like, because she doesn't really do anything morally reprehensible, I would say, out of
Or
everyone.
I don't mean like
But
he liked her as a person. He just thought she was a compelling character, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
I mean, I think I like Esminette. I do think it's hard with that series because everyone kind of sucks to some extent. I think I do like Akamian and Esminette. Callus infuriates me. I like Nair, even though I shouldn't, just because his dialogue's so great. I love listening to him talk.
Yeah, and Naur is definitely like Naur. I feel like obviously he does similar things with Naur in some ways that Erickson does with Karsa. Obviously, they go in different directions, but there are certain sort of like overlapping ideas in there.
Yeah,
and especially when it comes to the form of dialogue, there's similarities in how they talk.
Good one.
They're definitely, and I think that's partly why like I was kind of like attuned to him.
Yeah,
and then like we got all the Conan like archetypes, and then we got Logain and Logan, sorry, in Abercrombie. We got Nair in the Backer books, and we got Karsa. Those are the big three I can think of, but I haven't read every fantasy series, so I'm sure there's more Conan archetypes. I know there's the old guy in the Discworld books. I'm not really counting that one, but he's in there too. So, but I guess I just like the Conan archetype, and I feel like everything that isn't Conan does it better. I just, I don't know.
I mean, it depends. I mean, I think Conan's a very simple character, and when you have something that's very archetypal like that, there's other fantasy writers like I can play with that a little bit, which I think it's totally fair.
Conan is more nuanced than you might think.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying I think it's that kind of archetypal nature of Conan that can
I feel like people often underestimate the part when it's like a man of great melancholies and great mirth. Where it's like, yeah, Conan is bipolar. You just ignore that because it's so much more interesting to see him run around with swords. But that man is often very, very depressed.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, he was spitting some bars in Queen of the Black Coast about his philosophy about life. I mean, it's some good shit. He's not a dummy.
Sometimes Howard could write a sentence for sure. He's sometimes it's kind of whatever, but yeah. So Aspect Emperor, oh my goodness, it's like 1,000 times darker. Children of Dune, and that's all I'll say. But oh my God, is Callus's Children? That's a whole other ball game. That's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, somehow I can't see Callus be a very how can I say this, healthy father figure. I don't think he has that in him.
There has to be one of the most fascinating, and like you will be glued to the page until the chapter is done ever in history of books. Maybe that's stretching it, but the second book has a specific moment between Esminette and one of her kids who's in a cell, and I can't say more than that. But it's man, Backer knows how to write some dialogue. I'll tell you that, where you are engaged, for sure. That may be one of the greatest pieces of dialogue between two people. Despite the fact it's surrounded a bunch of depraved stuff. Like I think he's naked in that scene, which is unfun. And he's saying gross things, but in between all that is a really fascinating discussion. So, but
Okay.
I mean,
So-
I don't know. I haven't read any of these books yet, so
no, yeah,
I'm just
no,
kind
yeah,
of, I'm
No,
just
yeah, there's
kind of,
no-
you know,
yeah.
I'm just chilling, bro.
That's
No, I think
fair.
they're worthwhile. They're worth reading, but they're more like if you want to engage with like ideas in a lot of ways, right? They are more like a philosophical argument than they are an entertaining story. And if you're just reading it as an entertaining story, you might miss out on like the main things.
Yeah,
But that means you need to be willing to engage them as a philosophical text and not just as an entertaining story. And that often
Yeah.
fails. I mean, that's why everyone reads The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco and goes like, "That's a really interesting detective tale." And now I know all about the Middle Ages, and I'm like, yeah, maybe, but maybe you missed something there.
Sword Wheel is great. Is yeah, that's all I'll say there. But yeah, I love to be challenged, and I definitely am
I mean,
more
I
of
do too.
the religious person. Out of most, I think a good portion of BookTube is not, which is fine. But so I wanted to read something that specifically was
I
against
sometimes find it kind of
my
annoying.
views.
It's like there's all
So
these good books out here you could be reading, and you're not, because you know. So I have to go find other YouTubers who talk about the weird books.
I mean, I feel like, I mean, obviously, as I said, like I'm not a religious person. I think I'm a relatively well-educated person when it comes to religion, and I take it seriously.
definitely sound like you are. So I'm sure you are.
I mean, I did
Probably more
study.
educated than I am, and I ascribe to a faith. So
I did study medieval history, and like my first term paper in medieval history was on the heresy decrees in the heresy canons in the in the Fourth Lateran Council by Innocent III, and how they tie back to Roman law and so forth, and why it was inevitable to actually brand both the Valdensians and the Cathars as heretics, and how, on the other hand, the Dominicans and the Franciscans could be integrated into the larger church. So, I spent a lot of time reading Catholic canons over the years.
Yeah, I think you know more than I do, and that's coming from somebody who's religious. But I also never went to college, so yeah.
Generally,
My history comes from Assassin's Creed.
Oh, God.
It's not a good place to get it from.
Be like, yo, or what was that guy's name? Ezio?
It's
Trying to
the
take on the
Torre
Inquisition.
Yeah,
Reading like a history book, being like, yo, where's the weird conspiracy stuff at? This is dumb.
yeah, exactly.
As
Yeah. All the places
Then
I've
you're
ever
reading the
wanted to
wrong
travel
history
is
books.
because of them. Yeah.
It's like, that's
See,
dumb as hell.
See, that's the fun thing. You read Little Big by John Crowley, and you get some Joachim of Fiore references, and that's a guy you should look up. Joachim of Fiore, definitely a really interesting guy. Did a lot of calculations to find out when the world would end. Very,
All those
very.
people, Mayans.
Hmm?
So
2012.
would you say that the Baker series, the Aspect Emperor, would you say that's more dark than Malazan?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Oh, way more. Malazan is not even. It has dark moments. There are terrible things that happen, but there is an underlying thing of hope throughout all of them. I'd say of light throughout all of them, no matter how dark it gets.
What I am reading, Dimedrek, I am reading The Shadow of Hyperion by Joe Byrne, good friend of the channel, good guy, and The Great Win by Alan Moore, which is the first of his Long London quartet. Next one's coming out next year. I don't know if it's one of the best.
I love that.
Not one of his best works for sure, but I'm enjoying it. It's not bad.
Him and Jay are probably the contemplative reader, are probably like the two like overtly like Christian booktubers I can think of. So
So what I find so interesting is with like when people talk about Christian, I'm like, Christian is a large tent, and I have friends
That
who
is a
are,
large
you know,
tent.
are like Orthodox Christians, and I know people who are all kinds of versions of like Protestant, from like Lutheran all the way
Mm.
to out there evangelical. And I'm Catholic. Well, I'm obviously not religious, but like I grew up
Yeah.
Catholic. I'm culturally
Yeah, I
Catholic.
guess I mean not cultural. I mean like genuinely believes
Yeah.
in the faith, not just like, oh, I go to church every Christmas because my family goes, but I don't ascribe to anything. I mean like genuinely believes in what they say they believe. Is I guess when I say Christian, like those
Yeah.
two are, they genuinely have a faith.
I feel like in American context, a lot of people assume Christian means some form of Protestant, probably of the Calvinist sort of side of things. And
Or Southern Baptist or whatever.
yeah,
There's a whole lot of them. Yeah,
yeah, no,
non-denominational.
and I'm here in a country that is like something like 2/3 Lutheran and 1/3 Catholic, and I'm like, your Christianity is very different from what I would consider Christian.
Like
In
I
some
would
very
call
fundamental
Catholics
things.
brothers, but I think Catholics wouldn't call me one because I don't like pray to
It's kind
Mary or
of
whatever.
it's kind of
So-
funny. I've had play arguments with a friend of mine who's like a very traditional Catholic about Christianity, and I'm because I was raised in kind of more like Protestant. I was raised in like the non-denominational, which is basically like Protestant, but
Yeah,
so you don't have like saints and all that.
I mean they're saints.
can't-
You just can't pray to them because they can't. But that's
Yeah, I always
basically
get
the
so
difference.
annoyed with the like infighting between like Catholics and Protestants. I'm like, you guys. I mean, I know it's like you guys have like different like ideas of what
Yeah,
this thing is, but you fundamentally believe the same things.
yeah. The core thing's the same. That should be
Stop.
all that matters. So you believe the Christ is like God or whatever. Like that's the big thing. That should be the everything else, whatever. Like that's the main thing.
I'm like, no wonder people
Everything
are
else
so
should be
annoyed by
secondary.
Christians. They're always fighting with each other about
I mean,
Yeah.
there's
part of
there's
their
a lot.
religion's right. I'm just like, it's fucking stupid.
No, there's a lot of like good reasons why you had the split between, say, like Luther and the Catholic Church at the time, and it's not just indulgences. There's a lot of like very specific sort of like theologically nuanced sort of conversations out there, and stuff like free will. Once you get to Calvinism,
Yeah.
the idea of like free will and predestination, that's a huge deal, right? That's not something you can easily wipe away and go like, you believe in fundamentally in the same things.
Yeah, I mean, it is still a secondary issue, and this is not, this is a booktube channel, not a religious
Yeah.
channel, but like the Calvinist stuff, it's,
I
to
don't
me,
really
in my
believe in
mind, it's like,
Calvinism.
you believe,
I get what they're
Yeah.
saying, but it's kind of like, well, okay, if everything is predetermined, then what's the point of believing?
well, see, so they'd be nuanced about it though, because I've had people in my life that
Like, explain.
are Calvinist, and they say, well, you don't have free will except from the wrong decisions you make. So when you sin or whatever that means, like that's you. Anytime you do something good, that's God. And like so I have no ability to make a good choice. So then how can I be to blame for any decision? It's just a bunch of needless extra stuff. Like why not just say libertarian free will? Everybody can make a choice, good or bad, for good or ill.
I like how this
And
has gone
if
from
you
like
choose to make
fantasy to like theological discussion. This is fun.
Actually, it's
I think,
entirely
like,
backwards
I feel
because we
like
got on topic of backer, which brought it all into that.
Christianity at its core is very much like Dungeons and Dragons. You have a couple of core rules.
No, it's funny.
You have a couple of
I always
core
joke with
rules.
some friends of mine because my dad's always you're always kind of talking about this. So I'm like, man, like Christian, like the Bible's like the greatest epic fantasy novel of all time. if it's not
You
real,
got sex,
I don't
you
know,
got violence, you got hope, you got redemption, you got it all. Like you'd have
you got
a bigger series than
scheming,
Game of
you
Thrones
got
if
like
you did.
whole David goes on some sword and sorcery, Conan type adventures. Like, you got everything.
I mean that is in there, but like for me, when I said like Christianity is like Dungeons and Dragons, I think it's more like you have a core rule book, like every group makes up their house rules that are sort of derived from the core thing, but once you start like trying to play with people from like a different gaming group, you have a lot of problems because they've always like ignored, I don't know, the grappling rules, for example, right? Or they have like always ignored encumbrance rules, or and so forth, right?
Brandon, you read with your dad Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis,
Yeah,
right?
I did. Yeah.
It's a very simple book, and I think there's way more nuanced discussions on that. But I think that
It's
in its
I think
name is
approachable
why
is a better.
everybody
I think
that claims
approachable is a
religious.
better word for it.
Yeah, I mean that's basically it. That's the basics. That's what if you call it, otherwise don't call yourself a Christian. It's like those, that's the bare bones of it. Anything else you can build upon and get your different denominations and different sects and different beliefs about what, but that's like the core. If you don't believe those things, then I mean you could call yourself a unicorn or a fairy or a Conan the Barbarian follower, but you're not a Christian if you don't follow those mere basics. I would say is
Yeah,
pretty
no,
easy.
I agree with that. It's kind of funny. I always think it's funny that Tolkien was kind of mad at Lewis for not being a Catholic, for not being Catholic.
I think Lewis is funny for making, in my opinion, objectively worse books because he's too on the nose about his faith in the books, whereas he's got the ring, which you could very much make an analogy for sin with the ring, and then Sauron and Melkor for Satan, and you got those allegories you can make, but it's not hey the lion, hey, that's Jesus. Wait, do you not get? Wait. Let me tell you 5 more. Jesus.
Oh, what? The Lion of
It's
Judah?
Jesus.
Oh, shit. Yeah. You're just like,
it's
oh
like
God.
it's so in your face. It's so annoying. It's like I would agree with him, but I'm like, stop.
That's why.
Like,
That's
okay.
why I think his nonfiction work is a lot better than his fiction work. Because I agree with you. I think he's a bit thick with the Jesus symbolism.
Yeah.
Though I do like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I do have a soft spot for that book.
We also got Dostoevsky, who is, I believe, a Christian. Since we got Crime and Punishment in the chat, so
yeah, he was like existentialist before that was like a bit like him and Nietzsche were like the proto existentialists, you know.
I mean, so was Kierkegaard.
Yeah, him too. I always forget about him.
God, I fucking hate Kierkegaard.
Oh.
No, it's like I read Kierkegaard at university in philosophy class, and
is it just you don't like his ideas, or it's just stuff's like not written in a very interesting way?
His writing is really annoying.
Oh, okay.
It's like
I mean,
very,
we're not all Nietzsche,
it's very
unfortunately.
it's like reading emo lyrics from the early 2000s.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah, you might have a point there, but gods, get your shit together.
I definitely need to get through Dostoevsky's catalog of books.
I've wanted to read Crime and Punishment for a long time. I just haven't gotten around to it.
That's the only one I've read.
I've just heard it's really Russian and it's real bleak. So I mean, I'm just like, damn, okay.
Well, Crime and Punishment is like a longer extrapolation of like Edgar Allan Poe's short story where he kills a guy and then feels bad about it after, and then like confesses himself to the police because he feels so guilty about it. So it's ultimately just a story about guilt. It's like that on steroids because it's longer and way more existential. So also like religion is also in there because he like goes to prison and finds God. So, you know.
I mean, I know the gist of it. I know it's like crime and punishment. So a crime's going to happen, and then a punishment's going to happen. I mean, you know,
like when it comes to finding allies in prison, I think God is preferable to the Aryan Brotherhood. So I guess good on him.
I'll take it. I've wanted to read Crime and Punishment for a long time. It's just kind of like I'm just kind of nervous by because it's like it's so like dense, you know. It's like whoa.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's like those guys who come out of the woodworks. It's kind of like Malazan where they're like, oh, it's difficult, and then you're like, I don't know, and then like the other people come out and like, no, there's dinosaurs, you know, and you're like, oh,
there's dinosaurs with sword for hands. That's for true.
And they have lasers.
And they do have lasers because it's like sci-fi kind of, even though it's fantasy. It's great. But you know, I would say definitely I think Dostoevsky's way more dense than Malazan is. Same with like Blood Meridian and all that, which you've read and you were okay. You got through it. So I'm sure you can get through Dostoevsky.
I think it's a different form of dense, I think.
Yeah, like, different dense, but
I think McCarthy's from what I've heard. I haven't read any Dostoevsky, though. I've heard McCarthy really liked Dostoevsky.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Anyway, my point being, I find McCarthy's a little more visceral, though. At least from my perspective.
McCarthy. We're talking about like religion and all that, but I think we just all kind of started because I think it was Raph who said like why is there so much like I don't know, it was something about religion and fantasy. But I think fantasy just kind of invoked. Maybe this is because of the Tolkien mindset. Maybe it wasn't the case before with like Conan and stuff. But I think Tolkien perfectly does the thing of not shoving his religion down your throat, but through the very world itself, you get this transcendent.
Well,
this
I mean, he was the guy who
theological
talked about
thing
how
to
he
it.
didn't like the idea of allegory. He felt it took away from the experience.
Even though he
of-
definitely has
there
allegories.
is in all of Middle Earth, there is almost never any religion. The one time where people are actually worshiping someone, it goes very, very wrong.
True. I was gonna say Blood Meridian. I think McCarthy
going on, Colton.
invokes the that biblical
Yeah.
feeling, but like the inverse, and he does that very well.
And that's like a
it
general
feels
thing
like
that McCarthy does,
sacred.
right?
Hmm?
Because McCarthy is really good at using like biblical sounding language in other things and evoke that sort of that grandeur in a lot of ways, right? I think what your what your Edmund Burke would call the sublime.
Yeah. I like
That's something that
sublime.
like McCarthy definitely gets right.
I really like the Well, Colton, I'm glad to hear you're enjoying that. I don't want to read Larry Correa because some of the stuff he said about writing really pissed me off and kind of turned me off from his work.
What do you say about writing? Because I'm ignorant.
Just he's always mocking people on Twitter for wanting to think deeply about art, and I'm like, well, if that's the case, I'm not reading your stupid ass books because it probably means they're bad. So there you go.
Well, I mean, Larry Correa did take over the whole like sad puppies stuff at the time, and he wrote.
I mean,
a
I'm
book
sure he's a nice dude when you talk to him, but I'm like, if you're
I think he's a right wing dickhead.
I mean, that's all good and all, but like, if you're just like going out here and talking about how like just like mocking people for like wanting to like think deeply about art and being like, oh, I write clearly, what's wrong with that? And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with wanting to think deeply about the art you consume.
He's written an entire book against any form of gun control as a nonfiction book. And yes, of course, he has a gun shop, so he is, personally involved in that. I get it. But, you run a thing because you want to actually make the Hugo Awards less woke in like 2010. You run that, and then you do this other thing, and then you talk about like how fantasy shouldn't be deep. Yeah, my friend. You're a right-wing dickhead. I mean, I'm sorry. There's. I will not read any of your things. You might
Colton,
just
if
be a
you're
piece
still
of shit.
here and we haven't scared you off, I mean, I hope you're enjoying that book. But my point being, I didn't mean to go on a rant about Larry Correa at the moment. But I don't want to read any of his books. He just when you're like, oh, look at my prose that this snotty fucking whatever. I'll have to find it. His conduct on Twitter, I'm just like, oh my god, dude. Like, do you have? I think you'd have better things to do with your time.
Just don't write anything deep, but go buy my book. Where I'm
also don't think deeply about my books. I'm just trying to entertain you, but go buy my book. I'm just like, why?
I mean, I think that's fair in a lot of ways. Max Garfield, I think doesn't like either the first or the second of the Prince of Nothing trilogy have like an actual Blood Meridian quote as an epigraph. I think I remember that from somewhere, but I might be wrong. But I think it does have a McCarthy quote somewhere. No, I feel like the idea of going like, I'm just doing entertainment is a fair thing to do because a lot of people are writing entertainment. I think what is interesting, what needs to be questioned is the idea of like, is there a difference between entertainment and art? And if so, where is it, right? And that's something we kind of need to figure out, because if all you do is entertain, right? If the goal is just to give people a good time, at that point you have literally like no like larger arguments against, say generative AI being used to create something that entertains people, because if people read the text and go like, hey, this was fun, I'm fine, it doesn't matter whether a human or a machine has done that. That's sort of like where art comes in. And
I think that's
if
really
you just want to be that kind of person and just be
There's
a
also
wage
just like a
slave in the content
vindictiveness
markets.
to Larry Correa that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like he literally in one of his books that he recently put out, he put like a pretty passive aggressive jab to George R.R. Martin. I'm like, dude, come on, like that's just I don't like when people do that,
Yeah, I think that's why I said like right-wing dickhead. There is that sort of like level of grievance that is so typical of people like Trump and that whole like ilk. Is like they all feel that they have been done wrong by some malicious whatever thing that doesn't exist, so they're all out being just mean bitches all the time. And I'm like, come on. If I have to deal with that shit, then it's no longer entertaining. I can ignore a lot of stuff, but if you drag your personal beef with someone in your fantasy book,
Yeah.
I might get annoyed.
Yeah. But
No,
yeah, I
it's-
think
I don't know.
art
It's-
and entertainment is just the intention behind it. Are you going there just so people can have a good time, like you said, Raph, or are you there to transform someone's mind in whatever
I mean,
way?
I made
It
a
doesn't
whole
matter
video
what
about
you
why
believe
I
in.
think escapism isn't enough, when you're
Yeah.
reading stuff or consuming any type of art. So I mean, that obviously means I'm going to be a bit antagonistic to some of Larry Correa's opinions on that matter.
I mean, film, for longest time, I think we get a lot of films now that are mainly entertainment. And the reason I say that is because a lot of films come out now that, and it's not like it's just now, it was also in the early 2000s, it was also in the 90s, it was also in the 80s, and so on and so forth, where you
It's
got
always been
films
there,
where
yes.
you don't think about it anymore because they don't transcend. They were just there for the time to entertain. But there are those films that will still be talked about today because they have transcended the time and place they came in. Like Godfather's 51 years old. That movie is still going to be talked about for the next 100 years. It's just a quality made piece of art, which is based on a book. But regardless of that, it's
I think
just
that's the thing, like with any form of art, though, because it's the same thing like with music, movies, books, anything. It's like people are going like, no, so much stuff that is coming out these days is trash. And it's like, yeah, but it has always been that way. It's just like we only remember like the 5 good
law
books.
is a thing.
we only remember the 5 good books from the 80s. We have forgotten about the rest because we weren't there in the 80s reading those books. People that were reading books in the 80s were complaining about how books in the 80s were shit. And at least in the 60s, fantasy and science fiction was still good because they only remember the 5 books from the 60s and all the way back. And it's the same thing with music. It's like, music in the 70s was so good. It's like, if you've ever been to like a large sort of like secondhand record store, there's like thousands of records from the 70s that no one talks about because they were kind of okay,
not
nothing
good.
else.
I do think though a true argument about music though is that for every era there was a very distinct like certain vibe that was for that era. And like the 50s, like I hear most music, I can typically tell it's from the 50s or the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. But as you head closer to 2000s, especially now, it's like good music still comes out, but there's no like defining sound of the decade. It's just kind of like because of streaming and Spotify and all these different platforms
And
now.
also, a lot of the like really great
genre.
art is generally not respected when it comes around. Like a lot of people thought like Led Zeppelin was satanic nonsense, and now people are like, "This is some of the greatest shit of all time." Same thing with Metallica. I mean, hell, we're seeing it right now with Billie Eilish. I think Billie Eilish is one of the most interesting musical artists of the 21st century, and people are like, "What the fuck is even that? Like, what?" Like, people didn't even like fucking Bowie at first.
And still very interesting in music.
The entertainment.
So it's not like
you got Sabrina Carpenter, the
Bro,
the
Sabrina
candy.
Carpenter's great. I don't care what people are saying. Like,
Espresso.
you want
It
some
will be
quality,
remembered
you want
in
some
the next
quality
50
like
years.
bubblegum pop
Sorry.
music. Like, yeah, like go nuts. It's fun.
I don't think I've ever heard a single Sabrina Carpenter song, and I
You're not
don't think
missing
I've.
out. You're okay.
No,
Don't
no,
stop.
I feel like, and that's like the other thing, right? Like I don't stream music in the sense that I don't have a Spotify account or anything of the
Mm.
sorts. Like I listen to music when I stream something. It's because it's in my Bandcamp collection because I paid an artist and I wanted that specific album, and I have like
Mm.
well thousands of CDs and vinyls lying around that I have all digitized. But so I don't do the stream thing where someone like an algorithm decides or like selects music for me. I'm going like, no, I want to listen to this specific thing right now.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's sort of, and you're right, like the advent of streaming has certainly changed things in that regard because it has taken sort of like choice away. It has reduced stuff to a stream in a lot of ways. And that's something that I found really interesting, partly interesting in that theory book I read earlier this year by Sarah Kornbluth, Immediacy or the Cultural Style of Too Late Capitalism. And it's your post-Marxist, post
Those damn capitalists,
no,
Talking
it
about
doesn't
conspiracy
that much
theories.
about, no, it's more about it's cultural criticism. So it's like in the Frederick Jameson, Mark Fisher sort of tradition of doing stuff, and it looks at how the way literature has changed and the way that movie and television has changed and the way that music and so forth have changed through digital technology has turned to the form of like the stream, the idea of immediacy, and that everything has to be raw and direct and so forth, and that is a difference to older music, movie, literature and so
And due
forth.
to streaming, like anybody can like put out music now. Whereas before you had to have like a record deal and do all this stuff. So like that's why like in the 80s, like you hear like 80s music, like that comes from the 80s. You can tell. But now, like what's
a
the
lot of
music of the 2020s?
a lot of
Like, there's
cocaine
no,
has been spent to make this record, and you can hear that.
But like the
though,
2020s, there's no like defining like, oh, this is the music of the 2020s. It's kind of everything is the music of the 2020s.
though, Colton said he recently had read Mythago Wood, which I've wanted to read for a long time now. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but I've heard that one
Mythago
is a
Wood.
magnificent novel.
Mythago. I'm gonna look that up.
Mythago Wood is I haven't read it yet.
I know like Neil
Robert,
Gaiman and Michael Moorcock like it, and I'm like, that's good enough for me.
it's Robert Holstock, I think.
Mhm.
It's very
7 books.
it's very Jungian archetype, psychology, psychoanalysis stuff driven into fantasy things, from what I remember. I haven't read it yet, but that's kind of what I know about it.
I'll put it on a long TBR for one day, unless I get hit by a truck and die. But assuming not, I'll get to it one day.
I've heard like theories that he didn't kill himself. I don't know if that's true or not. But you know, it's all good.
What are you talking about?
Kurt Cobain.
That. No, I think I don't care at the end of the day, but I'm pretty sure it was suicide.
I think Nirvana was one of those rare bands that everyone was like, oh shit, like this is some good shit, and then Kurt Cobain's like, no, this is punk rock, and then he died, and you're just like, well, shit, okay, that sucks. Still great. I think Nevermind is an amazing album.
Oh, it's a good
Very
album.
worth your time.
I think it's important to understand that like mental health and stardom are not necessarily a thing that go well, two things that go well together. And if you add drugs to that, Chester, what's his face from Stone Temple Pilots and things. Keep forgetting his name.
Yeah, the bassist of Nirvana has gone in a very interesting direction. He's like a political thinker now. He's not really like a musician anymore. Dave
Grohl went to start Foo Fighters and did his thing with them. So
Green Day still makes music. though they're very political whenever they're not making music, but at least they still
Who?
make music. Green Day?
Yeah, I mean, there's bands from like there's always Bad Religion who have stayed the
I
same
was-
for like the last 50 years, and
I was talking with Steve Donahue on my podcast about a few months ago, and I remember we
Yeah.
were talking about authors that, they have a specific fire. They have a real specific fire, and when that burns out, they're just kind of spinning their wheels a little bit. And I find Green Day is kind of in that phase of their career. Like, I think their fire kind of burned out like 10 years ago, and
Yeah,
they're
I
just
think
kind
so.
of they're just kind of fumbling around now.
I just think it's
10 years
interesting.
ago. I think it was already burned out when they brought out
Yeah.
American Idiot.
I like American Idiot though. I feel
I
like
like Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
That's
I
some
like
good
the
shit,
No,
man.
American Idiots is still a pretty good album, but it is sort of when they shifted from being a punk band into whatever else happened, and it worked
How you
well.
doing? How you doing, Kale?
Album, and after that, it was kind of what you gonna do now?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's kind of been over. I just think it's interesting. Like a lot of bands kind of like disperse after enough years, and they're the only like ones that are clearly aging and older, but are still like together. So I think that's
No.
nice. all
I
things
mean, it's not
considered.
often
As I
you get
said.
like a Rush who are just like really good musicians who, I mean, I'm not saying they had their bad albums, but it's not like they had like a specific fire and once it burned out, they just kind of were spinning their wheels a bit.
No, I think like when you with Rush, and this is really interesting when you see the clips that they've like from when they announced the tour with the new drummer and everything. It's like you see Alex and Geddy together. It's like you can tell this is like a friendship that has been around for like 50 years. Those two are friends. Like
Those
the
two
Rush
love
stuff.
each other, you know?
Yeah, the Rush stuff is the result of them being friends. It's not like they started a band and the band is the big thing. It's like Geddy and Alex are friends if there's a Rush or if there's not a Rush. But if Geddy and Alex hang out together for long enough, then Rush things will happen, and you can feel that level of friendship, and that's I think is different because the fire is the friendship. It's not Rush. I think.
What?
Hmm.
What are you doing?
But I mean, obviously, there's musicians that have that fire, and I say like Bad Religion still is the same people, most of them at least, and they still play the same kind of stuff. They have never changed. They're still like the smart punk band that is incredibly tight on stage that plays like 90 minutes, 2 albums plus a best of set. And
Raph, you
that's
like
that.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, right? Like, I think you've mentioned.
Gizzard, Lizard Wizard. That's fun.
They're an Australian rock band. They're pretty cool.
I'm like, that's a wild ass name though. The
Right?
first time I heard it was
King
from
Gizzard.
Michael Shannon of all people, because he was on I like
love it.
watching What's in My Bag from it's a music store, and they often have like people like
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman and Amanda Palmer were on an episode, and Laufey was on an episode. That's where I found her. And Michael Shannon's like, oh, here's this band called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I just discovered the pretty good band. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
They've been around for a long time now. I've known them for a long time. They're really cool, and they're very Australian. The name is like peak Australian. Like a name like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is something that only Australians can come up with, because someone was very drunk sitting on a beach somewhere, and heat stroke hit him, and he's like, that makes total sense. And then they go back and smoke a bunch of weed and start a band, and then that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, Keith Richards, like, I think something more than death is going to take that man. That's all I'll say. Like, we're going back to Green Day. Like, I listened to one of their most recent albums, and it was borderline unlistenable. Like, it was just like, oh my god, like my head's in pain.
The Cure released an album last year that was okay. There was like one really good song in it. The rest were kind of rehashes of what they've done.
Well, a lot of
better.
it's like, fuck Donald Trump, and fuck Republicans too, and just like,
yeah, that is a lot of.
Did
Green
that
Day
in American Idiot? You did that very well. It's not really
Yeah,
working
you did
anymore.
it. You did it good there. You did it. You just beating the same horse now and being more annoying about it.
Sorry, like, I mean, I could do a Billy Joe impression, but I don't want to at the moment. It's kind of
they're all pushing like 60. Like they're gonna change anything. Like
I'm like,
they're
dude,
irrelevant now.
which is kind of the problem with punk rock, because punk rock and I don't know what Raph he might disagree with me, but like I find punk rock kind of is that thing where it really works when you have that fire, and once it kind of burns out, you're just kind of like fumbling, you're kind of spinning your wheels a bit.
Well, I did watch Propaganda earlier this year, and they certainly still have that fire. They are a very, very angry band right now.
Well, I mean, I was about to say, I mean, Raph's a bit more knowledgeable on like punk and metal than I am, so I mean,
Yeah, I'm very ignorant on the metal scene. I've listened to Striper, which I don't think you could say is exactly a metal band.
No,
And Metallica is
they're a
like
metal band. They're later, like the newer stuff is incredibly good. I don't necessarily like the early stuff. It hasn't aged too well, but like Michael Sweet is an amazing vocalist. Like, holy shit, that man can sing. And stuff like To Hell
I
with
like
the
when I can
Devil.
actually understand the music in heavy metal. Whenever I would be in high school and people play heavy metal, it's like, and I can't
yeah,
understand
and
a
it's
single
not
damn thing.
fucking Cookie
I can't.
Monster metal, Jesus,
Yeah.
I just love the fact that Striper managed to get like censored in Walmart. Yeah, they had an album called Goddamn Evil, and which is a great title for a Christian rock band.
Yeah.
And the damn was too much for Walmart, so they had to put stickers on the damn on the title.
That's crazy.
No, like
I think I don't know if Rage Against the Machine is punk. I'm not really a big fan of Rage Against the Machine, but
Rage Against the
I
Machine
find
is
they're similar.
crossover. Rage Against the Machine is crossover hardcore metal, whatever thing, because you have rap and metal elements in there.
I mean,
I feel like Killing in the Name of is an incredibly powerful song, and there's always been a message there, and that's important for the it's the same thing with fucking Body Count, right? It's like that is music that is driven by a lot of anger, rage, and frustration, and the music is often relatively simplistic. And the point
I mean,
is
they
to
literally
be
have a
really
song where they
pissed off.
say "fuck you, don't do what you tell me." So I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
come on.
That is kind of the point there, right?
Even though you're like, like, okay, see, you know what? I don't want to. You know what? I'm not going to talk about it because I'm like, you know what? I'll nitpick their politics some other time, but it's fine.
I mean, you have to understand this is stuff that came out like the same way that, a lot of like the Body Count, Cop Killer and whatnot stuff. This is like the early 90s. This is like Rodney King. This comes from a very specific place and time where if you are black in California in the early 90s, in LA in particular, you have a justified anger when it comes to, say, state-sanctioned violence. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm not, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying I don't agree with their politics. That's all. That's all I'm getting at.
I stick with Obi-Wan Kenobi, where I go, I'm not brave enough for politics. And I purposely remain ignorant.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I talk with people about their life and their problems, and sometimes theology when it doesn't get angry, when it's just like a normal discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But politics, I feel like for me, as one individual, I'm never changing the world. So I don't feel the need to convince people that I'm right or get them to think how I think, and live and let live. And there was a time, we talk about fantasy a lot on all of our channels, and oftentimes it's like the Middle Ages that it's using as an archetype. And when you're a commoner back then, you typically don't have a newspaper. So unless it's like really, really big news, like world ending, you're not hearing about it, right? So you're just plowing your fields and living your life. So, and I think people were happier back then when they didn't have access to as much information as they had. Maybe just because of ignorance, but sometimes ignorance is bliss. It's important to know what's going on, but there's also a fine line between focusing on it so much that it just makes you miserable every day. So, especially when you can't change it as an individial.
That's kind of the question, though. Like, I have an opinion there, but Colton, yes, please watch Spinal Tap. It's amazing. This is Spinal Tap is so fucking good.
I was gonna say, like, it's interesting you mentioned that, and maybe that's why you're watching it. But yeah, I was really sad to hear that that Rob Reiner not
Yeah.
only died,
that
not only
was-
that, but he got murdered by his son, which is just horrific.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
can't
but
even imagine that.
but we have all read that thing that that politician said.
Yeah,
Oh, yes,
and that
yes.
too was just like, oh my god, like I've gotten used to our current president's lack of any sort of tact or decency, but that was disgusting.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was.
it was
Like
interesting
even his dick writers were like, yo, bro, like that's a little too far. Like
Yeah, I
Yeah.
when your own
I think that
followers
was
are saying
that
this is
was
too
like
far, you have gone too far, my friend. Like
that I think was really interesting to see, because that's exactly the thing that I found interesting. It's like you have like with that specific one, you have touched like you attacked like an all-American idol that like everyone loved, like everyone grew up on, like The Princess Bride, right? Like
Yes.
you can't do that. It's like everyone grew up on The Princess Bride, everyone loved Andre the Giant in The Princess Bride. This is like foundational. You can't say "Make America Great Again" and then attack Rob Reiner. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
it's like you attacked Meathead. What's wrong with you? It's like
That was awful. Though.
I think he completely misjudged that one, which is interesting because he's usually pretty good at like sort of like judging.
Which, by the way,
the temperature.
All in the Family is still a real funny show. Like I watched some episodes of it some years ago. It still holds up. Like it's really funny.
Yeah.
No, and
I only learned about it like the following day that it happened because I went on my phone. But I have where I work is a retirement place. We got like this TV in the dining room or the resident seat, and they always like want to watch the news. And I'm like, but why? Like you're eating your spaghetti. Like you all have cell phones. Like you like read about it later. Why do you want to like hear about children getting butchered and murdered and Rob Reiner dying? While you're having your dinner. Like just like live in the moment, talk to the people you're living with, and deal with that later. Like it's I don't
going
know,
back to the McCarthy talk we were having earlier. I've been feeling like Ed Tom Bell recently, just like everywhere I turn around and people are just fucking murdering each other. I'm just like, good God, man. Like
maybe the real joke is that Judge Holden is still dancing.
Yeah,
It's
but it's like I sometimes feel like Ed Tom Bell, where I'm just like, I don't really read newspapers anymore, but it's like I'll see the news and be like, oh, some dude like murdered like 3 people at a college. You're like,
it's every day. Every day. Like
exactly.
Yesterday, like there's a mall right near me. 2 people were stabbed. Great. Do I need to know about
Rob
this? Not
Reiner,
really.
beloved
There's more stuff for me to
celebrity,
know so I
gets
can be
murdered by his
miserable.
son, and you're like,
Awesome.
why?
Like life's just grand, But that's like so you got to filter out the negative.
I mean, there were some
news.
good things
Like-
that happened in 2020. Like I've said, 2025 was a year of ups and downs, like just wildly up and down.
I really enjoyed Blue Moon with Ethan Hawke. That was a
Good
positive
Lord.
this year.
That was just but anyway, I'm just like again. There's sometimes I'm just sitting around. It's like, good Lord. I mean, look, I know
Her
the
life
world's
was
always
taken
been
throughout
kind
this
of.
year.
I mean, I've read No Country for Old Men. I know the world's always been, violent and whatnot. But like Jesus, sometimes you get kind of overwhelmed with it.
Well, that's the thing, because that's like the reality of the world. It's kind of like how it's always been. But then you read stuff again, bring it back to fantasy, like this channel is mostly about. You have Tolkien with his Lord of the Rings, and
I mean, Tolkien talked about the long defeat, so it's not like he's fully idealistic either.
But like when you, and again with the new stuff, like you see so much negativity, you have to make sure you also balance that out with hope and positivity. And Tolkien will show you the depths of darkness, especially if you read the Silmarillion. You could see a lot of terrible stuff that happens to people with no happy end. But then you also know the outcome by the end of it all, and you have that hope through it all to kind of help you get through that. So I think that's important to with your family or whatever. Maybe some people don't have good families, so that may not be a good example. But whatever you have that's good, try to focus on that. If you feel like you're focusing too much on the negative, or you would just be consumed by
carry the fire, to quote another McCarthy.
Yes, exactly. Yes, Cormac McCarthy. Bring it full circle. You know what I think? I think that Cormac McCarthy's books are like thematically like a connected universe, if they're not actually connected, because they all the road is like perfect endpoint to Blood Meridian, like a counterpoint.
He was definitely always wrestling with the same kind of things. Colton, at that point, the technical term is no longer conquered; the term is liberated.
Yeah, I remember Steve
Yeah,
Donahue. I don't watch the last of his Irish stew videos that I've watched. He was talking about how the only way Trump would be removed is by like nuclear weapons. And this is heavy paraphrasing, by the way. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm just gonna, this is insane. Like, I don't know if
Trump will get removed by old age in the next couple of months. I'm pretty
probably yes. I mean, good lord, you've seen some of his gaffes recently. It's just.
I just love the fact that like everyone was like, "Oh no, Sleepy Joe." It's like now we're in a situation where I'm not sure if Joe Biden might actually survive Donald Trump.
We need some new blood in the White House, man. Like that's all I'll say. Like we need some younger people in there because all these old people are just getting kind of.
There is this incredibly good song by this wonderful band called No Facts from San Francisco that deals with that in a very specific way.
How long did Rome last? How long did Rome last before it fell or got transitioned to something else?
That depends on when you start talking about Rome being like relevant and when you talk about it ending ish.
Fair enough. I'm just thinking, like, I think
honestly, I was kind of nervous.
A long time, so I don't know how much longer it's going to stick around.
So 400 something is usually where you assume that the Western Roman Empire becomes something else. So 460-ish, I think, is Sax of Rome, that kind of stuff. That's BCE, no, CE. So the question is like, when do you consider Rome starting to be like a thing? So I guess like 600-700 years of like pretty well established dominance, I think, is a good way of talking about that. But then again, it's called the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. It's not exactly. It takes a long time. I know.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I think America may already be on that decline, and so I don't think it will always exist. Empires rising from so.
With questions like how much longer does America have, I don't really know how to answer that because honestly, I don't know.
I mean, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, I don't think. I'm just saying.
I hope it doesn't happen in my lifetime, but yeah, it's not good at the moment. I mean, we're not quite at like Civil War levels of divisiveness yet, but it's pretty bad, I will say. I thought I thought the boiler would go off when Charlie Kirk got murdered, but that didn't happen, fortunately.
I find the whole like Charlie Kirk situation so fascinating. The way it has like the attempts to turn Charlie Kirk into a martyr, how they have been so fucking memed into the ground by everyone at this point. I find really fascinating because that shows like a level of weakness in like the currently sort of like in power, sort of dominant, sort of like right wing, sort of like clique, basically, right? Because you watched that whole like memorial kind of thing, and they were like trying to turn that into like their big moment, and it failed because like everyone is just singing that AI song and doing weird memes and shit, and people on the right and on the left are doing it. It's like everyone is doing it. It has completely failed at this point. And that I find really fascinating.
It's like meme warfare. It's not even like people rioting in the streets anymore. It's just meme warfare.
But it's not even meme warfare at this point. It's just like it's a meme mosh pit at this point. Like everyone is doing it, but there's like all attempts at sort of like sincerity and seriousness have been taken out of this, and that's what I find fascinating. And I would argue that partly that is because of the way that the funeral and everything was like. Done like the whole like
other thing.
The way they tried to instrumentalize the whole thing was so over the top that like the only response is to kind of goof around.
Yeah,
but you can't get that. You can't get back from that, right? Someone gets murdered on like an open stage, and you do
I
like
saw it like.
I didn't watch, obviously I didn't watch the clips because like
that.
I didn't either. I didn't really want to. I didn't want to see it.
Well, I didn't mean to. It was all over the day it happened. It was everywhere. Instagram. Twitter, I saw it like 4K HD.
I saw like a photo, but I didn't see the.
The point is like someone gets murdered on an open stage. Everyone sees it, and the result is to have like the most spectacular like fucking wrestling show memorial with everyone doing their bullshit thing around. It's like at that point you've gone so far beyond irony that like the only thing that
Oh yeah.
Like his wife,
from, like,
his wife seemed like the only person who like seriously got up on stage and was like, "Hey, like,
I don't know.
hey, he
She's
meant
kind
a
of weird
lot to me,
too.
bro."
I don't know what's going on with her, but we traded him for like somebody 1,000 times worse with I'm not gonna get it, but that Nick guy.
Nick Fuentes.
He's like
Oh,
1,000
Nick
times
Fuentes.
worse. Yeah. We
Very
traded
odd name for a white
the
supremacist.
moderate
But you
guy,
know what?
all things considered, with somebody
The
way
world
worse.
has not made sense since 2016, so I don't know what's going on anymore. I don't think the world ever made sense, to be honest with you guys.
But he
Yeah,
he rose in popularity right after he died. So it's like, was it the best idea to get him dead? I don't know. Because now he's
what I find
I do
like
think it's kind of funny. I didn't mention this at the time, but the dude who shot Charlie Kirk kind of looks like Liam, and I just think that's hilarious. Kind of resembles him a little bit. I'm like, damn, Liam, like really went off the deep end there.
Well, he's still been posting videos, so I'm pretty sure it's not Liam.
No, I know. I'm just
No, I know what you mean, but like, my point was what I found so interesting is that when it comes to like social media and so forth, political discourse, you obviously always had your like weird far left whatever sort of like meme discourse out there, but it was never like relevant on like a broad spectrum. And the current, like the Trump and MAGA sort of like group, like in different like sort of like tentacles and so forth, had pretty much had like control over media discourse in general for the longest time, because they are just better at memeing and everything for the longest time. And when the whole Charlie Kirk thing happened, like when it came to like his sort of like remembrance, the funeral, the memorial sort of spectacle, the whole thing, they over fucking stretched it to a point where they lost control of that, because the narrative that they were trying to sort of like make the main narrative just did not stick. In like period, like
I remember seeing parts of the funeral and just shaking my head like, is this for real, bro? Like I would be embarrassed.
Yeah,
if I were a spirit looking down from the afterlife on this procession, I would cringe.
I don't think he would have been happy with that. They heavily politicized it. I don't even, that was a whole thing. It was a whole
and I think it went too far in like in many ways.
And they tried to martyr him. I'm like, bro, he talked shit on the internet. This is not fucking Martin Luther King Jr. Like, get out of here. Just stop that.
Yeah, and you had and then you have like Stephen Miller doing his like Goebbels speech and fireworks and everything. It's like what kind of reaction do you expect from like a completely disillusioned, like irony pilled, black pilled, disillusioned youth? It's like, of course people are going to make fun of this, no matter where they are like personal politics lie. It's like the only sane reaction to that specific thing, to that specific spectacle, is like mockery. That's the only thing you can do. And that doesn't matter whether you were sort of like, aligned with Charlie Kirk's political ideas or not. That doesn't matter. It's like, you see that thing, the only thing you can do is go like, fuck. It's like, and I think that is interesting because it does show that like, you can push cynicism too far. And if you do that, you break something. And
I think it's been broken for a long time, honestly.
No, but they did have like a level of sort of like message control that has sort of slipped in a way that was not, not there before, right?
Yeah.
That there was 9/11 and everyone came together, and then after that, everyone's like, "Oh, you shouldn't have gone to Iraq," and just went to hell from there.
Yeah, but like, they tried to turn it into something like 9/11, and they failed, both because they misread sort of like the actual sort of like control and the importance of Charlie Kirk on the one hand, but also because it felt artificial. It felt like an artificially created spectacle.
That would be my response, because good Lord, the whole thing was just embarrassing.
It shouldn't have happened, but it's not on the same caliber as 9/11 by any means.
Oh no, I'm not saying it is. I'm
not
just
saying you saying it is. I'm just saying anybody
Oh,
who
okay.
makes that argument.
No, but I just find it interesting to see how it has failed so broadly, even with the people that are nominally on their side. Like obviously, that
And also when
liberals
Trump's like,
and
"Oh, we're so divided." I'm like, "Bro, you fucking fed it. Like, what did you expect was gonna happen?"
Yeah.
Like, either Trump is a fucking idiot, or it's just we're.
I mean, yes,
I don't
he
know.
is.
I mean, he is, but like, either he's literally that stupid, or he's just lying. Either or, I can see being the case, but it's just.
I think at this point he's just soup. Like Trump himself is just soup, and then you have like a group of people that are sometimes so deep
Take care, Colton.
into their specific sort of
Right,
like
Colton.
ideological weirdness that they don't actually see the world. Like I earlier this year read and I highly recommend it. It's a frustrating read.
And keep in mind, people, we're only 1 year in
yeah,
to his fucking. We're almost 1 year in, and it has been just pure chaos. It's just, I'm so glad. I'm just like, you guys didn't learn your lesson from when COVID happened and how much of a debacle that was. It's just,
yeah.
It's
Now, like
frustrating.
a couple
Very,
of months
very
ago, I
frustrating.
read Hate Monger, which is a biography of Stephen Miller, and it does explain a lot of things. It also shows that like Stephen Miller is one of those people that should have been bullied far more as a kid, because he never got bullied. He got away with being a dickhead his entire fucking life as a fucking preschooler, as a high school kid. He got away with being an asshole every single fucking time. And that's the result. You have a fucking piece of shit who believes that he can do whatever the fuck he wants and still takes some level of grievance with him that is based on nothing but his own imagination. If someone had beat that fucker up as a teenager, maybe things could have been different. Or at least someone would have gotten the satisfaction of having, beaten fucking Stephen Miller's ass, which would have been like one person that was made happy by Stephen Miller, which is, more than has happened so far. So,
One other
I mean,
positive.
you're right, Kale, but it's still
Dairy.
just kind of mind-boggling at the same time. I don't know if it's just that Joe Biden was that incompetent, which I'm not going to pretend he was a great president, but
No.
But
I mean, that's
to be argued, was he really the president for the majority of his term? I don't think he was. Bro seemed kind of out of it every time he talked, but
I mean, no, I agree with that. And honestly, the progressive just going like, "Oh, everything's fine," Joe Biden, it's
ice cream.
Insane. I really don't love politics out here in America because it's so insane at this point. Like
it is.
I was talking with Gary on my podcast. This was about a year ago, and this was like maybe a year or two ago, and she was like, "You guys are fucking insane." And I'm like, and I'm thinking more and more about it, and just seeing all this insanity happen, and I'm just like,
yeah,
he's fucking right. She's right.
and
like
I think
two men had sex in one of the Senate rooms. I mean, what is going on here? What is America coming to?
But I think that is totally fine. Like, if it was consensual, I don't care.
I mean, and they recorded it. I mean, look, that's fine. You do it. Like, I'm not fine. Like, look, if you're into that and you're consenting adults, that's great. But like,
it's not like doing it in the
room.
workplace.
That's be some decorum.
It's like, you don't do that in the workplace.
But here's the thing: like, I would argue that it was probably not the first time that someone had sex in a Senate room.
I'm sure it's not.
I imagine not. But
I'm also pretty sure he wasn't
stupid enough to record the damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just because now you have the technology, and like people doing that in like the 19th century probably were too active to stand still for someone taking a daguerreotype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yo, Gary was fucking right, guys. Like,
I don't think
we got cameras in ancient Greece. We've seen a whole lot of things.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the recordings of gay sex in the Senate room are the most important sign of a decline in American politics.
No,
Oh no, I
no,
don't
it's
think
just
so.
funny.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just getting at like we're just so like off the rails at this point. Like it's unreal.
We got Ice Spice
Boggles the
dressing all
mind.
sexual for SpongeBob SquarePants, the movie. Like, listen, dress however you want, but it's for SpongeBob. I don't know. It's funny. It's just funny. I don't know.
No, I think what when
I
we
don't
come to
know. They
politics,
gave a
it's
lot of
like
grace to Biden that I think he didn't deserve. And once like it became clear that Biden couldn't run because he's so old,
Mm.
like that's when they just lost. That's when they lost right there.
Yeah.
Well, that and the Trump getting shot. Well, kind of. He got clipped in the ear a little bit.
yeah, not having, and I think the underlying problem is, and
Which is another crazy Steve proclamation. He doesn't even think Trump got shot. So I'm just kind of like, I don't even know anymore. Like, both sides are fucking insane. It almost feels pointless trying to hope that things are getting better because I don't know.
Like you have a bunch of insane
Small
people, and
things.
everyone is allowed to have guns everywhere. Of course, people are getting shot. That's kind of priced in. Charlie Kirk said that.
Well, yeah,
It's
I
like
mean,
the Tolkien books. It's the small things, you help
Yeah.
the people around you and hope for the best because you're not a superhero that's going to save the world, but you can help the people around you.
Yeah, but
and-
that's kind of one of those things that I feel is important to understand. Is like you can change the world, but you can't do that on a small scale. That's where like anarchism, like contemporary anarchism kind of comes in, right? Where you go like, well, what you do is you talk to your neighbors, you talk to your friends, to your family, you build up networks of mutual aid, you make sure that like everyone in your community is safe, you help those people out, and those networks are resilient because they are not reliant on like larger politics. They are built on these people, you talk to these people, and you don't necessarily need to agree with them on their politics, but they live in the same house, they live in the same street, the same block, whatever. So you're going to help each other out. You need to sort of like build those sort of like networks of help. And there's a lot of like sort of like individualism to overcome there already because it's been drilled so much into us that everyone is out there for ourselves. But looking out for our neighbors is a fundamentally human thing that is basically our basic emotions in there. And focusing on that, I think, is important because that will help you no matter what happens, no matter what kind of politics happening on like a party politics level. But that stuff does change the world for the better in the long run.
I hope you're right, Raph, because good Lord, it's not looking good at the moment. I mean, look, I'm sitting here comfortably in my house on a very nice Sunday afternoon, turning in the evening, but it's just we're getting it's getting real dark at the moment.
Yeah.
Now maybe it's because news is kind of thrives off of negativity. It's never been.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
untrue.
I try to watch
maybe exaggerating how bad things are, but from what I've seen, it just feels like things are getting worse.
I think that's the point. I think it's what both sides want. Both sides want you to think that things are the worst they've ever been. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But I know I'm not going to be the one to make a huge change of a difference in the world, but I can make the people around me make their lives a little bit better. And that's all I can really manage and control. I can't control the bigger things going on. So I can do.
That's like one of the things that I found so interesting from the outside to see with the whole like Zoran Mamdani thing in New York. It's like because he ran on that, like the way he sort of like integrated, like everyone is like, hey, we have these things that we want to actually do. These are very concrete things. These are going to help everyone, no matter whether you are for me or voting for me or not, because free buses are good for everyone, free childcare is good for everyone, and in tying in people and bringing like everyone like making people feel that they are part of a productive sort of like a thing, like a community, a movement that does actually have like positive things that will happen. Because the positivity part, I think, is often ignored by that, because of course Trump managed to build like a large community, but like going like, well, we're going to kick out people, that's a negative thing, whether you want to disagree.
Yeah, it's like the 2 minutes hate, or
Yeah, and like it doesn't matter how much I agree or disagree with Mamdani's politics, and I certainly haven't looked into it too much, but I think like as a movement, it was so successful because it did have a positive, optimistic sort of like image and movement. Go like, hey, you want to join us? We'll do this. We'll make this like a better place, and it'll be fun. And you have like people like your even your fucking or whatever being like, oh no, he's doing a scavenger hunt with his like vote supporters in New York. That's not serious politics, but like there is still serious politics, but he's managed to sort of like integrate that as like a community, going like, hey, we're doing things together that are fun, and then we'll also do other stuff, and that works because it is a positive sort of like thing. In not positive in I support it, but like positive in like the messaging. It's like we're doing something constructive. We're not destructive.
I mean, I don't
but we're
really
doing something
agree with
constructive.
Mamdani's politics, but I mean, he does seem like he actually cares. He's kind of like Bernie Sanders. I don't agree with him politically, but he seems like a sincere dude who cares, which is quite rare nowadays, at least in America.
Yeah, I think that caring does carry a lot, and going like, hey, we're already basically
caring really helps, sometimes.
Yeah, and that's something that very few people manage to, I mean, I don't know how many politicians actually care. I suspect a lot of people start out caring sincerely, and then it's difficult to keep that going. But it's also, there's very few people who manage to.
Oh, where's the comments? There are the comments.
Time and Sanders, yes. Like, do I disagree with Sanders sometimes? Of course I do. Do I agree with or disagree with Mamdani? Sure. First of all, who cares? He's in New York. I'm in Germany. It doesn't matter. But like, he comes across as authentic, as someone who does care, and he manages to turn that into a movement where everyone else who does do, and Sanders, Bernie did the same things. Like, people in that movement feel like they're part of something positive, like something that will make the world better, that will produce positive things, and not just go like, hey, we'll make sure that we get what was ours in the past. It's like, no, we'll create new things. And that I think like that will create something, and not just like we'll destroy something that we disagree with. I think that is a key difference there, and I think that's part of it. Like that
Alex
level
said he
of
had to
joy.
go, so goodbye, Alex. Thanks
Goodbye,
for hanging
Alex.
out for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, goodbye. And here, like, Merry Christmas and all of that kind of stuff. I assume we won't meet before that is over. So, enjoy that.
Yeah, I was about to say I'll probably start slowly wrapping this up as well, because things are because I have something I'm gonna be doing with my family in a little bit, so I don't want to get on that. But yeah, a lot of people actually showed up today, so yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I'll keep working on stuff.
Carlmas, you'll keep working on that.
Well, it'll start officially on the 25th, and then it'll go until Epiphany, which is one of those holidays that only Catholics know about.
Yeah. Anyways, I you know what? I hate to just kind of end this on the sudden, but yeah,
you gotta go. You gotta go.
Take off.
It's 20 past midnight. I'm definitely ready to go to bed.
All right. Well, thank you everyone who came on and hung out for a bit. Raph, as always, thanks for coming on. Alex and Victor, thank you for coming on as well. Nice to meet you as well, Victor. I don't know if he sounded like he was from Canada, so I mean, I don't know. But anyway, I don't know if we're doing this next week, because I don't know, but
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well,
all right. Take care, everyone, and until next time.
Until next time.